Greetings, everyone, and good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where in the world you are. Today, I am joined by Polly. How's it going? You're
Good
muted.
day. It's going well. Hello, everyone.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Tom will
hmm
be joining us later, but as I'm sure some of you noticed, we have a new video up on Midnight's Edge Espanol, don't we, Polly?
Yeah. It's really good. And I was passing along. I was disguised as Midnight Edge Espanol in the chat, just talking to the guys and sharing the link while they wait. I mean, there's so many people that are, and God bless you all. There's so many of you guys waiting early. A lot of early birds for you, Andre.
Yeah, well, it is called Midnight's Edge in the morning, and depending on where in the world you are, it's really early morning someplace.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, what's great about this is that, there's English, obviously there's the main channel here, and then there's which we take those videos and we just script our own Spanish. So there's always that back and forth, and then original Spanish content as well. So,
Yeah,
it's a growing thing.
exactly. So everyone go and check that out. And Tom was actually up editing that video till just a few hours ago. So I imagine he maybe hasn't quite woken up just yet. So Tom will probably join us before long. Either that or his internet is out again. But which has
Right.
happened a couple of times. But the two of us are here, so we are fine. And not only are we here, we have people from all over the world joining us. We have let's see, Cyber Soldier is in the East Coast where it's noon, so that is cool. And Taranchul says it's like 2:15 in the morning in Sydney. I'm not long off heading to bed. Well, all right. Well, good. Glad to see that you're still awake, but don't be awake for too long. We can always catch the replay later, but we really appreciate you being here. And we also have Switzerland representing with Jason Gallagher, and we have Hentai Surprise. Well, he's not. It moved on me there, but the Hentai Surprise is representing Wyoming. So that's excellent. And we have Dash D's here in Alberta, and of course, Natasha. Our loyal wrench is representing the Netherlands.
She's
And we
awesome.
also have Huntsville, Alabama here, so that's cool. Huntsville, is that not like where like the Red Sands like rocket thing were? Or am I imagining?
Huntsville, Alabama. You might be thinking. Wait, say that again. Red Sands.
Yeah, well, I I,
Mm,
I think like Wagner von Braun and like his rocketing team weren't they like in that general direction somewhere?
I think you're thinking Texas, Huntsville, Texas.
Okay.
Uh, and Hunt Keely Chow's in Alabama, where they say "Roll Tide." That's their kind of football, college football scream. So, yeah, but yeah, Huntsville, Alabama. Hail.
Yeah. Exactly, and John Williams says Huntsville is a rocket-based initial testing for NASA. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And Keely Chow says
Right, and that's
this,
Texas, though, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's Alabama. Alabama. Executive producer Saul Leibowitz says Andre is correct. Huntsville, Alabama does have some rocket research. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Like the name seemed awfully familiar. I've seen it in so many documentaries. Yeah, and Ghost Bear says
Yeah.
the same thing there, if I can get to it there. Redstone Armory, Huntsville, Alabama, home of rocketry. That's what I
I
thought.
mean, that just goes to show you just how huge our country is. I mean, I had no idea. I thought all of that came out of Texas. My bad to all the good people of Alabama. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is. Like America is massive.
Massive. So
So
much
yeah,
going on.
yeah.
And that's the one part of the country. Well, Louisiana and Alabama, I have not traveled as much as Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. So yeah, it's such a beautiful country, man, that we have of ours. But leave it to you, Andre, to prove me wrong.
No. I agree that you have a beautiful country. I just
Yeah.
know a little bit more geography and history in some key areas. I'm sure if we were to take a test, you'd beat me. But
Yeah, we talk about the
I know a
Southwest. I
little bit
got
some
you.
things. Yeah,
Any,
I'm sure. I
yeah.
have no doubt about that. And speaking of South, Joel Rice says that right now it's 5:18 here in Portugal. Actually, it would be 5:20 by now, but anyway, hail mead and hail chat. Well, hail indeed. And speaking of hail, we have someone else joining us
Yeah.
also
Here
from
we
the
go.
South. Mike, our very own Mexican Iron Man.
Yeah,
How's it
hail.
going? ¿Qué tal?
Hell, gentlemen. Hey, boss. Look, I can say boss, and there's actually two bosses here, Paulie and the great Andre. Hey, guys. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, and I
well.
am hailing from the South, and Andre, and I just want to know, you've been a role model in terms of how you've really been learning Spanish and launching Midnight's Edge and Espanol. And I just want to say I'm also embracing that same commitment. I recently picked up Rosetta Stone Southeastern Twang Edition, and Mexican Iron Man is working on his Southern speak in order to bring that representation to the Midnight's Edge.
Oh, nice, very cool. We always need some more. We always need some more Southern speak. I was like thinking, are you going to try to learn Norwegian?
Bro, I actually tried to look into that. Remember last year when you were going to do all the readings, and that's when I upgraded my membership to the highest level. By the way, everybody, if you're not a member on Patreon as well as the channel, you really need to. There's cool stuff everywhere on Patreon and the membership. So if you're not a member, you need to be a member of both. But I actually tried to read some of it. Oh my God, your language is so complicated. You people must be so smart. I mean, it's like, whoa.
It only looks that way. It's actually super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Like looks can. I'm sure that Natasha, our loyal wrench, can certify. I know that she speaks a little bit Norwegian. Grammatically, it's actually really simple. But languages and the South and everything else aside, we have a great show for you today. We have so much interesting stuff going on between Warner and DC and Phase 4 of Marvel, which is in the thumbnail, which might be slightly, I'm not going to say misrepresented, because we'll get into Phase 4 as well. But what dropped in between us making this thumbnail when we set up the stream and now when we go live is basically that we have a couple of more animated DC series. We'll be getting a new Superman series, and we'll be getting a new Batman series. Yes. And remember that Variety hit piece, the one that came out on the eve of the Snyder Cut's release, the one in which Warner Media CEO, or not Warner CEO, Ann Sarnoff, or Chairman Ann Sarnoff, stated that we're not interested in pursuing the Snyderverse any further. That's done now, because we have so many far better ideas, so many diverse and cool and safe and representative ideas and all of that jazz. Well, now we know a little bit more about what those ideas are all about. Yep. And we're going to get into that. And oh my God, this is gonna be awesome.
This is going to be a show, and Andre, I'm sure Paulie mentioned to you, I'm a huge DC guy. I was definitely on Team Snyderverse for 2 years, hitting petitions, Twitter. I mean, the release of the Snyder Cut for me was just right behind the Luke Skywalker scene, if not maybe even more emotionally. I've been a huge collector of all DC comics for a long time until I was sold. I had Batman 1 through 50 in Detective Comics. This is about 20 years ago now, but I'm very incredibly well versed, and I've watched. I've watched and owned the Batman and the Superman complete package of all the videos from the animated shows that they had before. And then I've been following the news just intensely because even though I'm an accountant in my daily life, I love this stuff like you do, and I love doing the analysis and getting into the quarterly reports and reading what does this mean and what are all the entities. So I'm ready, brother. I'm ready to talk about anything you want to talk about and wherever you want to go. Let's go.
Perfect. Paulie, you excited to talk some DC stuff? Or DC
Always, man.
madness, let's say.
Always. Madness. Excellent. For sure.
Yeah. Before we get into that madness, though, we have a couple of super chats that I want to get into right away. The most recent one, we have some more classic ones, but the one I can bring up on screen is from Valiant Renegade, who says, Mike is making the rounds today, LOL. Finally finished tax season and moving. Now he won't go away. Haha, good to have you back. Yes, indeed. It's awesome to have Mike back again. Now when tax season hopefully is slowing down a little bit. Then we have, let's see if I can bring any more up on screen. I cannot bring any more super chats on screen, so fantastic. But you're just going to have to listen to me very carefully, as I shall say this only once. And bonus points to who can catch that reference. Darius Minchhausen sent us a work super sticker, so thanks so much for that. And Robert says for $10. I'm behind on current streamer events and was wondering exactly what happened with some WCB bullcrap. I don't know. I haven't paid too much attention to it. So yeah, like check out a Twitter sphere or something for that. And Gypsy Warrior says for £1.99, who's hyped for Batman Caped Crusader? Oh, we're gonna get into that. And Stephen Otten says, hail Andre, Paulie, Tom when he's ready, wrenches and midnighters. 2:15 p.m. on the road again in South Carolina. Well, drive carefully. With that, I think we're caught up on everything that we have gotten in so far. Nope, we are not. We got one from HyperGyver2, who says, madness, this is Midnight's Edge. And here we cover the madness of the studios, so that should be cool, and we're going to get into that right now. I'm trying to share the article here with you first, of the first of 2 animated series that has been announced today. Just give me 1 second, I'll get this up on screen here. This comes to us from Bounding Into Comics, who do their usual great job at covering everything that is happening. And one of the stories today comes from John F. Trent, good man, who writes, HBO Max announces new animated Superman series with race-swapped Jimmy Olsen. And then the story continues. HBO Max and Warner Brothers Animation announced a brand new Superman animated series titled My Adventures with Superman. And again, it features a race swap Jimmy Olsen, but that's not in the title. In a press release, Warner Media details the series will be an all-new kids and family animated series. It will follow 20-somethings Clark Kent, the bright and driven Lois Lane, and their best friend Jimmy Olsen as they begin to discover who they are and everything they can accomplish together as an investigative reporting team at the Daily Planet. Specifically, the series will follow Clark as he builds his secret Superman identity and embraces his role as the hero of Metropolis, and perhaps the world. As for Lois, she is now growing into a star investigative journalist and takes aspiring photographer Jimmy Olsen under her wing. While all of this is happening, Clark and Lois are falling in love, sharing adventures, taking down bad guys, stumbling over secrets, and discovering what it means to be Superman and Lois Lane. And here we have a sample of the artwork. So, with that, I'm curious, Mike, we already heard that you really dug the Superman animated series growing up. So you obviously have some connection to it. But Paulie, how about you? What does Superman in animation mean to you?
Well, this is horrible. That's what this means. And I mean, that is not Clark Kent. That is not Superman. That face, everything about this guy looks like he doesn't know who he is, and he's insecure and all that stuff. The man is an alien from another planet. He's a god. He's a superhero. What the F?
I would say that just looking at, you know who he reminds me of a tiny little bit, just looking at the animation, he kind of looks a little bit like the animated Peter Venkman from the real Ghostbusters animated series, only without the attitude that made Venkman.
You're so right. You're so right, Andre. Holly, you're muted, but I assume I can chime in now. That is just awful. It's atrocious. Look. I'll throw him a biscuit or half of it. No, I'll throw him 1/4 of a stale bagel. That the Jimmy Olsen black decision is because of the Supergirl recasting, maybe. But that's about as far as we can go. That absolutely drawing is horrific. I feel like I'm watching Lower Decks right now. Do they get the same animators from Lower Decks in piece of?
Kind of looks like it. Just like what's it called? It's like that Cal.
It's called the Lower Decks.
Like
Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, and then just
but like that style of animation, isn't that like the Cowley style or something like that?
Yes, that was the original. Yeah, and it's kind of worse since then because other people have emulated it with even less skill and less brains and less, less ingenuity. I mean, let's just deconstruct this like Paulie was doing. Paulie gave us a really great overview, but just like, he needs to be coddled. He needs to be held. Look at the fierceness and the drawing fierceness, of our woman heroine, I guess. I don't know. Look, of course, no one's got any muscles because to be in a superhero universe, no one can have any muscles. Everybody's got to look like a Star Wars. I'm sorry. Everybody's got to look like a barista from Starbucks, right? So you have to look like a Starbucks barista or a coming of age millennial. What is he wearing? I mean, I don't even know what that is. That is like end of day loose sweater. I mean, the guy goes to Abercrombie and Fitch. When did Superman ever shop at Abercrombie and Fitch? I don't know. He always had a suit on. And then, he's like, what's that color beneath his eyes? The guy doesn't sleep. He needs a sleep machine. Superman has sleep apnea now. Yeah. He can't smile. He can't. I mean, they're facing something. And Jimmy Olsen's like, ooh, let me take a picture. Lois is like, wow, this is exciting. Don't worry, Clark. I'll protect you. And Clark is like, who am I? Do I use my superpowers? Do I not? Do I show them? Do I not? Who am I? Where am I going? Why don't I have a pen for this notepad? Why am I holding this notepad? I'm not even taking notes. I think I'm going to puke, Andre. This is, if you take a look back at the greatness that Warner was actually able to achieve, because the greatness wasn't even some of the stuff they did with some of the Superman episodes or the Batman episodes. Is once they started getting into the whole, there were various iterations of the Justice League. I don't know. I don't know if you watched any of them, but those were really awesome. Of course, you had infused in their Wonder Woman, and you had infused in their Aquaman, and you had infused it. But they were really, for those of us who enjoyed what happened with the Marvel universe before things went to hell in a woke, handbasket. What we were able to see Warner streaming previously with Batman and Superman really carried the day for those of us that weren't getting any movies. I mean, you'll recall, Andre, the whole Nicolas Cage debacle, for that iteration of Superman, and then all of the 2 decades of bumbling around of what to do with Superman, which, by the way, the same bumbling happened with Batman. It just, they managed to get stuff out every now and again. Every 7 to 11 years, we managed to get something going. You know, which one someone likes and how much they like it and how good was it is a matter of very diverse opinions. But then again, with Batman, we can do that. See, what Paulie's hitting on is a very important point here. And to compare and contrast is that those of us who have been Batman fans for years, for decades, okay, some of us love Detective Comics. Some of us love the regular Batman. Some of us love the Dark Knight. And that's why so many of us who came of age maybe like say in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, we gravitate towards the Snyderverse because that's where things kind of went. But they didn't go off the rails. And what Paulie brings up is this case is that Superman is the God amongst men. I mean, seriously? Seriously. While Lois is learning how to be a better reporter, I mean, Lois is the real hero of this animated thing. She's mentoring the black guy. So we're saving the black folk, right? And I'm a minority, so I'm going to call it. So we got our diversity and inclusion. You know, minority being saved by the white folk, which doesn't need to happen in the real world because there is no institutional racism anywhere. I'm sure Jimmy, black, white, brown, or you know, purple will do just fine on his own. He seems to be handling his camera okay. And then, you know, the God gets him. So basically, Lois is going to mentor the God amongst man and the minority guy, and between diversity, inclusion, and interplanet galactic alien species, you know, communication, Lois is just going to be the real hero of this thing.
Yeah, just looking at the picture, and they chose which picture to look out. They're like, there's no doubt who's the real star of the show in this one. Who is the proactive one that makes things happen? And that's fine. I mean, this goes right with what Ann Sarnoff was promising, that there's going to be many different animated series and movies and everything like that. And the one thing they'll all have in common is that it's going to be super diverse and super safe and super exciting. And we should all be so excited and should all forget about the Snyderverse because we'll be getting stuff like this. So,
Andre, can you read that comment from Tarantula so that people that aren't on screen can appreciate?
Yes, I would about to say.
Okay.
For those that aren't watching, I highlight a comment that I think was actually very apt. And Taranchul says, "It just hit me. It wants to anime. It desperately wants to be anime, but it completely misses why anime is beloved." I don't know a first thing about anime. Like, I don't get anime myself, but I agree. Like, this Cal art style looks like anime to me, and this one looks even more like anime than like regular Cal art. You guys think that this is trying to cater to the anime audience? And if so, will it be successful? I mean, considering the fact that anime outsells like Superman comics and Batman comics for that matter by a pretty substantial margin.
Me or Paulie? Who are you asking the question to?
Well, both of you.
Okay, Paulie, do you want to go first, or?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I have two reactions. The first reaction, Andre, is that, let me go in reverse order. So you're comment about it's outselling Superman and Batman. It's outselling Superman and Batman because Superman and Batman right now super uber suck. I mean, you know, that commentary and that's what the industry trades are putting out there, right? But see, Superman and Batman sales are down because Superman and Batman suck. You know, just royally. The quality of the storytelling right now is absolutely poor. The storylines are confusing. The character treatment is awful. The drawing is bad. And I've got to tell you, I just moved into my house in South Carolina, and one of the crates I unpacked is all my Indiegogo comics that I bought. I have not realized how much of a backer I've been of Indiegogo comics. Comicsgate, in other words. I think I've got 40, 50 books that I haven't even opened that have been delivered during tax season. I haven't bought one DC book in any shape or, well, that's not true. I bought some collector stuff but so that's one thing. We can't really do that comparison, but I think the stream's on point. Tarantula is on point. There was another one, someone else, I missed the thing's moving so fast, I missed it. Someone made the comment that Lois looks like Lewis. She doesn't look like Lois Lane. She looks like Lewis, like Louis Lane, or someone in maybe, I don't know, debating transition. I don't know. Are we pre-transition? I don't know. But I do think that I'm like with you, Andre. I don't get anime. I'm not a fan. I've tried movies. I've tried books. Not interested. Don't get it. Don't like it. Sorry. call me Mexican. I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't get it. But it is incredibly popular, and they are trying to do that. They're trying to sloppily trying to give, you look at the sharp eyebrows, the sharp hair. These are all things that you see in anime, but these are just fine little like salt and pepper on a bad steak. Is what we're looking at from a comic standpoint. And I do hope that this is an example of stuff that was in development that they're putting out that is really awful, but it doesn't signal where we might go, because with the recent announcements many of us that are huge Snyderverse and DC Comics fans are actually somewhat optimistic in a very weird way. But we see some potential light at the end of the tunnel, though yet it might be another train headed in our direction. We're just hopefully.
Yeah, that's the question. Is it the end of the tunnel, or a train coming to meet us?
I think it's the end of the tunnel, and I'm looking at the Midnight Edge chat stream, which this is the best chat stream. And so when you guys tackle tough issues and interesting issues, this is the chat stream to watch. And these people are right what they're saying. This thing's going to die a fast delivery. It's going to land at the barbecue like raw or uncooked bad meat. No one's going to watch this. No one's going to be interested. I just bought, like I told you, I just bought myself for Christmas, and actually my friend Loki, Stone Loki in the morning, he has Mornings of Mischief show, and we just got the Superman and Batman full-blown collections because we want to have our media, because we don't know if we're going to be able to get it in the future, And I can tell you this right here. If I watch the first show, it's going to be because someone asked me to review it with them. But other than that, I can already tell you I'm not interested. This is just awful. And to take me, someone who's a lifelong Batman, Superman, hardcore fan. I mean, good God, I like Man of Steel and hardcore Superman. Me and Clobberin times get into it. I mean, you have to really blow Superman in a bad way for me to just reject it. And this is something we will universally reject. Snyderverse fans or not, we're all going to reject this.
Yeah, I can well believe that. Paulie, how about you? You see this. What do you think they were thinking here? Are they trying to go for the anime audience? You think they'll be excited? Are you? Paulie, you're muted if you're there. Paulie is not there. Well, then I'll go in the meantime. Because to me, it looks like they're trying to go for the anime audience. I agree with that point. And you know what that signals to me? That they don't know who this is for. That they're trying to make it appeal to as many people as possible. They're trying to make it as broadly appealing. You probably think that we're going to get like the Twitterati, we're going to get those that like anime, we're going to get the kids. That's really important. And beyond that, an audience is going to spring into existence. But just like Star Trek Lower Decks, I'm kind of like getting Star Trek Lower Decks vibes just reading that description and seeing these pictures. And the audience that they thought was going to happen, it never materialized. It never emerged out of the empty nothingness from whence they thought it would come.
And Andre, the memes that have come out of the Star Trek Lower Decks Star Trek's Lower Decks series are hilarious, yet if I were creative, they're awful. I think what we're seeing here, Andre, is I think you're very much on point, and I think your view objectively from 30,000 feet in the air is on point. You're right. I think I see what they're doing now. They're trying to say, okay, let's grab some kids as customers that might be new. Let's grab some wokey folk, and let's grab some Twitter feeders, and let's do this. And they brought this on themselves because they purged all the good original talent and creators that they had within DC. But I really think this is a signal of stuff they had in development, that this is about the end, not the future, because AT&T to Discovery, they're all about the numbers. I mean, if you look at, I looked at Discovery's net income against its gross revenues. Holy crap, they make money over there. They're not going to tolerate this, money losing crap for like 2 minutes over there. Not if they have a Discovery management structure. I mean, if you look at their financials from a net income on their properties and their gross revenues, And they're also not top heavy. One of the great comments you made is that studios tend to be, I think this was 3 or 4 shows ago, studios tend to be very top heavy and loosey-goosey with paying a lot of execs. And, you know,
it was the last show, actually, where I made that.
Okay, so when you did that on the show, that fascinated me. So I went over to the Warner Media website. Holy moly, they got presidents, chairman, and exec vice presidents for freaking every division, man. They got like 3X people.
It's actually funny because I have like experience with that. I used to work for a hedge fund operator, and they had like 18 various directors and VPs, and 5 people making stuff happening.
It's unbelievable. No wonder nothing right gets done. This is, you know, for those of us that were looking for, look, when I originally heard that they were going to do an animated series, I actually was excited. Now, but this is depressing.
Yeah.
This announcement is depressing.
As Liljenborg points out, they're trying to appeal to as broad an audience as possible, except for Superman fans. Yeah, I think that's a completely on-point comment. And again, to me, and Paulie, I want to hear what you have to say about this, but to me, it looks like they have decided that, okay, we have to hit this demographic. So we're going to put this in there to appeal to them. And we have to hit that demographic. So we're going to use this animation style to hit to them. And what they do is that they put in such wildly different things that they create a product that they try to make appeal to everyone. But in the end, it doesn't appeal to anyone. That's my reading of that description and that art. But again, I'm not into anime. I don't know the first thing about it, or animation in general these days. I'm stuck in the 80s. Paulie, what do you think?
God, this is just going off of what everyone else is going off of here, and kind of digging into the article a little bit. It's called My Adventures with Superman. Why can't it ever just be about Superman? And why can't just Superman be Superman?
Could it be because Superman is a problematic white male? So it has to be Lois Lane who is the active, and she's the one that's taking him along for adventures. Or you know what? I bet that this series, it was right there in the description. This is the series where Lois Lane is going to teach Superman how to be Superman. It was, I can't believe I missed it the first time.
Wait,
it was right there in the description.
It's right there in the description.
Right there. Yeah, it's right there in the
Oh my God, I'm reading it now. Holy moly.
Yeah, no. Let's read it one more time. It just dawned on me. Yeah. It will follow 20-somethings Clark Kent. He's just a 20-something. The bright and driven Lois Lane. So she's bright and driven. She's the active character here. And their best friend, Jimmy Olsen, who's also there. He's black. That's like the one thing he brings to the table. So you might as well say, and their black friend. As they begin to discover who they are and everything they can accomplish together as an investigative reporting team at the Daily Planet. Specifically, the series will follow Clark as he builds his secret Superman identity and embraces his role as the hero of Metropolis, perhaps the world. And Lois is now growing into a star detective and takes aspiring photographer, aka her black friend, Jimmy Olsen, under her wing. Okay, so basically, she is the one that takes him under, or takes like her black friend under the wing, her wing, and she's the bright and driven one. She's the one who's going to teach Clark Kent how to be Superman.
So, three. Okay. I got a couple things here. I haven't had a chance to really dig in. You know, as a kid, I pretended all the time that I was Superman. I never thought about my color or ethnicity till much later, right? But it didn't matter. This is my Superman. You know, Christopher Reeves, cartoon shows, even the old school black and white television show. My point is that that's what superheroes are. We want to, they're the best of us. anyone can be we all want to be them. Not anyone can be a super, but anyone we all make believe. So that's one thing, and that's coming from Chicano kid here, but it goes beyond that, in my opinion. I am glad to read that Clark and Lois are falling in love. So hopefully,
there's that.
Hopefully, it's with each other.
It's not all bad, but again, it looks like one is going to be much more aggressive in pursuing the other. Like one is going to be the one wearing the trousers in this relationship.
Well, so right. So there's that, but then down in the article it just says this is a fresh take. It delivers a modern, relatable Clark Kent.
Modern and real. Yeah, that's what we all want to be. We all want to be Superman, a god incarnate, to be relatable. That's exactly what Superman needs. I mean, this is Warner's Superman problem, isn't it? I mean, they haven't really understood Superman ever since 1980. Is that when Superman 2 came out? That's like the last time they really got Superman. Like, why we didn't get a Superman movie in the 90s or 2000s was generally like, how do we do Superman? Because the people at Warner didn't get Superman. Of course, you had Bryan Singer, but I don't know that he actually got Superman either. He only had like a love for the Donner movie and wanted to continue that. And Man of Steel, and I do like Man of Steel, unlike many others. But it's very, very clear that they're trying to go all out Nolan Batman on him because that's not Superman, not really. That's flying Batman.
Yeah, I agree with you that even though I enjoyed the movie Man of Steel and even though I enjoy the Snyderverse, I concur completely that there's just too much of that. And frankly, I've had a problem with what they've done with Superman dating back to the video games and, when, the Joker, I'm not sure familiar with the storyline, but,
which video game are you referring to? The 64 or flying through rings and everything?
Did you say Commodore 64? Wait, what did you say?
No, so Nintendo 64.
Oh, okay.
The one where he was flying through all the rings.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But I mean, the whole concept of him being, the various universes, and he's a bad guy, and he's killing people left and right. I mean, people have a problem with Batman using, weapons, in one movie or another. Holy hell, it's just my stomach turns. I can take Red Superman to an extent, but my stomach turns when the concept of him just being the bad guy. I mean, even the Snyder Cut movie when he shows up at the end and they're going down that universe, and I know where the story comes from, and I own those books and all of that. But Jesus, that's the most powerful thing to this day ever. And there's been a lot of great scores. There's been a lot of great movies, and Lord knows we need a hero. We need heroes now, Andre. As you know, you've spoken of this many times in your shows. We need heroes now more than ever on this planet.
And if there ever was a time, that time is now.
And take all of the thematic music that's out there. You can have your Star Wars, your Mandalorian scene, but is anything more powerful than when you hear that trumpet? Da 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 da.
It's an iconic score for a reason.
I mean, seriously. I mean, okay, I'm not doing it very well because I'm not. I can't sing for shit. But I mean, is anything more powerful than that? And we all instantly know what that means.
Yes, I agree.
The world is going to be okay.
Yeah,
it's like when Midnight Edge comes out in the morning. The world's going to be okay. Midnight Edge.
There is still some sanity. Actually, with that, before we move on, sharing our thoughts on this show before we move on to the Batman show, let's hear what you guys have to say in the chat. And there actually are a couple of super chats I can bring up on screen now. These are not all. We'll get to those accounts, but on my point that Warner hasn't understood, Gypsy Warrior says, I would say Bruce Timm understood Superman. And you know what? I agree. Bruce Timm understood Superman. Superman, the animated series, was freaking fantastic. Yep. Unlike you guys, I did not grow up with it. The first time I saw Superman the animated series, that was at the time when the Whedon cut of Justice League came out. Prior to that, I was aware of the existence of Superman the animated series, but I didn't see it before that point. But in conjunction with the release of the Whedon cut of Justice League back in 2017, I think it was, I acquired Superman the animated series. I didn't see the whole thing. I'm not going to claim to have done that, but I did see some select episodes. And as I said, I like Man of Steel. But those first 3 episodes going through Superman's origin, they were better. And the 2-part episode in which Darkseid invades Earth, it wasn't just better than the Whedon cut. It was a whole hell of a lot better than the Whedon cut, to say nothing for all of the other episodes. And the animation was clearly derived from Batman the Animated Series, and the animation of that was derived from the Max Fleischer Superman series from 1941 or something. And to me, that's the definitive Superman. So yeah, I agree completely. Bruce Timm understood Superman. Problem is, that's just Bruce Timm. That's not Warner, and Bruce Timm has no power there. He had nothing to say about Superman or how he was handled beyond that one series. So yeah, in the 90s, Bruce Timm got Batman. I emphasize in the 90s because we're going to get back to Bruce Timm, so you just hold that thought for a while longer. And then Kit Kat says for £5, thank you so much, Lewis sounds exactly like Ghastly Burnham teaching Spock how to be Spock. Yeah, exactly. And also reference to Star Trek Lower Decks, because I've forgotten what the name of the character was there. It was like Wannabe Burnham. That was also teaching everyone else how to be a Starfleet officer, despite being awful at it herself. And then we have Dean Krantz, who says, as a 54-year-old man and veteran, thank you for your service. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. My first comic book was X-Men 17, a gift from my older brother. I loved Marvel in the 70s and 80s. Grew into DC in the 90s. The dreck they put out now is trash. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's destroying the comic book industry, isn't it?
Yep.
And then Goskar Farlat says, I get you, Latino. We look up to our hero not because of the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Also, the cool superpowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No matter where you're from, and on this globe, we love our superheroes, man, and they're cool superpowers, and we all try to emulate those superpowers when
and
we're
also they
make-believe.
actually unify people.
Who'd have thunk it?
I'll never forget being on vacation in Russia when a new Captain America movie came out, and everyone was like, "Yeah, Captain America." Who would have thought? It's American culture, but it's been exported to the rest of the world, and at its best, superheroes are something that unites us. That we can all leave our differences aside and just focus in on how cool these characters are, what lessons, universal lessons that anyone can identify with, that you don't have to do anything to make them extra diverse and appealing. They just inherently are, and they become part of modern day culture that everyone can get behind, no matter where you're from. And modern day comic books kind of like undermine that. And Goskar Faraf, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Stuff like that really helps to keep the light on and the coffee produced in the long nights when we produce content here. And Kit Kat wonders, how is the independent comic sector doing? Have seen some complaints crowd-funded comics are sometimes behind schedule. Isolated instances, I hope.
Yeah, of course. You have Mexican Iron Man to speak to that pretty good.
Yeah, go for it.
Let me take that one because I'm pretty prolific with my support of the indie. I'm a pretty big backer, and going back before getting into the Phantom Menace, I actually came onto the YouTube sphere as a comics fan and was in Comicsgate as well as War Campaign, and don't want to start a firefight and talk about that old history, but I can tell you that I'm very intimately involved as a supporter, and I can tell you this: the thing with Comicsgate is that you had a bunch of guys. It's like any startup industry. You have these big, huge companies that are putting out comics, and now all these creators go independent. And basically now you've got the people that have gone through the ups and downs. And I think there's a lot of the books that I buy now. Overwhelmingly, I get them when they're promised. However, there's about 10 to 20, maybe 30% now. Thank God it's that low. It used to be 60, 70% Kit Kat. So you're very, very intelligent observation. It's now down about, say, maybe 10 or 30%, 1 in 10 books, maybe 3 out of 10, where you basically got someone coming on, they're not very experienced, and they're not really letting themselves be mentored in terms of where they need to ship, how to ship, where they need to go in print and all that. And unfortunately, those bad apples tend to make a lot more bad press for the rest of the folk that are just trying to put stuff out. And my favorite reaction is this: look, a lot of these people are doing their dreams. A lot of these people, it's their first book, maybe even their second book. We've had COVID. They're not making money. They're doing this to express their love and try to make a couple bucks in order to, maybe pay rent or not lose their house and whatnot. So me, myself, I don't bitch and complain because we're in unusual times. And so I've been very patient. There's books that I bought that I was promised in December that I still haven't gotten. But I think I'll get them in August or September. But at least, hey, they're communicating. And the ones to watch out for, and it's easy to see, just watch the people that aren't communicating with their backers, and that's who you stay away from. The people that communicate with their backers, hey, and I'll tell you, a couple of them, they decided to do more pages, and we waited longer, and we got a much better product by waiting another 2 to 4 months. So that's what I'll say. And overall, I that's kind of my advice. So it's just do your due diligence. But one thing that you can do is, just like we come to Midnight's Edge for knowledge and entertainment, Mandy hosts a bunch of shows with independent comic books creators. So I would encourage everybody to go sub Mandy's channel. I can't remember exactly the name of her channel, but I'm a sub there, and she has shows and she features all these ones, and they actually have promos, and so you can decide where you should put your money and whether it's worth it. But great observation, Kit Kat. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Everyone go also check out Mandy and all the other Toxic Femmes channels, and check out Toxic Femininity every Monday, where they feature prominently. Moving on with the super chats before we move on to the new Batman animated series. Uncle Al says, "What I remember from comics and TV in the 60s. Superman was a reporter to monitor where he was needed. Lois was the pushy, investigative reporter." Yes, she was, and she's always been, and this is all good and well. However, the way that this is framed makes it look like she's the one that's going to teach Superman how to be Superman, if not directly, then at least indirectly, and that's new. And also on that point, Willie Woodward says, "With respect, I slightly disagree with you. Even in the 50s, show Lewis always wore the pants in the comics since AC1, Clark's been a beta." Yeah, and this, and again, you are not wrong, but here's the difference. Clark Kent was always an act. Superman was the real person. Whereas the way that this is, here it's being framed that Clark Kent is the real person and he has to learn how to be Superman. To me, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the character.
I was going to tell him the same thing when I saw that super chat. Hail Andre, the great Andre. That's why you're the boss, Andre.
Gracias. And Lord Kamina 2 says, Superman, Man of Tomorrow understood Superman. I still need to see that. Yeah, maybe it did. But again, it's like an isolated example of an animator that understood it. He's not understood by the people that actually make the decisions of how to proceed forward with the character on the big screen. If they had understood, we would have been on our 4th Henry Cavill Superman movie by now. I mean, it's close to a decade since the first one, and that's all we got. Other than guest appearances in Batman v Superman and Justice League, there hasn't been another solo Superman movie. And the only reason for that is that the powers that be at Warner, they just don't get Superman. Not saying that's a good thing, but that's how it is. And Dash D's wonders, is there a chance the heroes are so stale that this hack job is trying to save us from losing it all together? Something is better than nothing thing. No, I don't think so. I mean, this is a genuine thing. Like, this is the mandate from Ann Sarnoff and her cronies at Warner Media. This is exactly what they said. That they have a new strategy, and that's basically, we're going to do loads of different things. It's all going to be diverse. There's no desperation here. This is what they wanted to do. This is their strategy. It just so happens to be a crap one. And then those are what I can bring up on screen, but we have a couple of other super chats from before. Jakob Romansky, he understood my reference, saying, "It is I, Leclerc." Wink, wink. Yes, best series ever. Infinity Flare says, art reminds me of Netflix She-Ra. Super awful. Yeah, kind of look like that a little bit. And then Silver Nova says, for 10 Australian dollars, thank you so much. If I see a new movie or cartoon on the horizon that looks good for a change, I will take a blurry black and white picture and send it in to Ripley's Believe It or Not. Yeah, there you go. Actually, you can probably take one of Superman and Lois on the CW, because incredibly, that seems to get it, at least so far. Michael Miller wonders, are we talking about the new Batman and Superman shows? Yes, we are. We're talking about Superman right now, and we'll get into Batman momentarily. And Destiny Captain quotes Warner DC saying, we're brand delusion. Brother Axiom says, anime fans are way smarter than to fall for this mediocre trash. I can well believe that. And HyperGyver2 says, for $10, thank you so much. This is a trend that Western animators keep trying to use and fail at repeatedly. I saw it a lot over the last 20 years, especially when I was working for ADV Films in the early 2000s. I can well believe that, so thanks for the observation, but ATV Films, that's something you guys familiar with? Take that as
me.
I am
or
not.
Paulie?
I am not, but I do.
Both of you.
I'm not.
Said he's not, so okay.
Nope.
Well, I'm not into animation in general, but I I trust your experience, and I also trust your experience that this is going to fail. Amenti says, for $5, I think they see the success of anime and manga and are imitating the visual style, but not the fun action or stories that make them popular. That's what I would be inclined to believe. And Iber B-Man says, this trying to be anime, but is the furthest thing from it. More Jar Jar buffoonery. Hold that Jar Jar thought, because we're going to get into that real soon. And Steven Seagal is in the house, and he says, greetings, Midnight's Edge in the morning, and Andre. May your days be grand. Oh, thank you. And let's see then. Ty Remmers wondered, is there an iconic Lois-centric story from any medium? All I can think of is in Death of Superman, where she's figuring out which Superman is real. Paulie and Mike, you are more familiar with the comics in this matter. Can you think of an iconic Lois story?
An iconic Lois story?
Yeah.
I really don't have an iconic Lois story, because Lois is, in the comics, more or less just been there as a complement and a character, as a complement and the character. The story is about the action. The story is about the citizens of Metropolis. The story has been about Superman saving those citizens, and everyone else is a supporting cast. See, when we take comics and we try to make them about us or about made up certain characters and go into that. Like what they're trying to do here. Is Superman going to discover and find himself? What are you talking about? His job is to be Superman and go save a freaking airplane that just lost its wing. So no, there are iconic Lois stories in my opinion. There are none.
Yeah, well, maybe there should be, but you know what? You can do that in modern day comics without having to resort to these leftovers. But with the super chats covered for the time being, there's more. There's more. If you think that this Superman animated series was bad, then you just rest assured that I saved the best for last, because there's more. Hang on for 1 second.
If I could,
go for it.
Yeah, I've been waiting to chat about this, and some people in the chat are talking about the purpose of Clark Kent. And if I can disagree with you just a little bit, Andre,
sure, go for it.
I think Clark Kent is so important, Mexican Iron Man, to Kal-El, because the way the Kents raised him, and so he's not a buffoon, he's not an idiot, he's not any of those things. It's a disguise to blend into the world, but always keep tabs on what's going on in the world with being the reporter. But Clark Kent and Kal-El are so intertwined, which is why if you make Clark Kent this insecure, oh my God, who am I? I don't know who I am as Clark. He's gonna be like that as Kal-El. What the hell?
Exactly. Yes, Paulie. Yes.
And yeah, that's the point. Yeah, that's my issue right there.
Yeah, that's just my little.
Yeah, and I think Paul, you bring another great point up too, which is that what you're touching on is that Clark Kent aspect. There's the homage to the being raised as a Boy Scout type of thing. He's able to be who he is, and he's able to be who he is, and who he is two people. One of them's an act, but not completely, but to a large extent, but not completely, because he is that good guy, and that's what we need. We need a hero who is not self-indulgent and doing it for his self's sake. We need a hero who's selfless.
Yeah, he's, I don't, you might speak to this more than I can if they went into origins, or as far as it almost seemed destined that he ended up in Kansas, away from the big cities, to be raised by the Kents, the Kents. So
it was very deliberate. If you look at some of the old writings, Paul, you're another brilliant point. If you look at the old writings to the Genesis, not just the actual books, but see, the guys are city guys. They were city guys who created him. They could have put him They could have put him in the Bronx. That spaceship could have landed in the Bronx, but that's not Americana, and that was Americana of the day. And that was a very deliberate choice. You're 100% on point if you go back and study your history of the character. Sorry, Andre.
Yeah, no, go by all means. Before we move on, Dr. Coffinnails wonders, where's Tom? And yeah, to those that came in late, Tom spent all night working on a video that is right now up on Midnight's Edge Espanol. So chances are he hasn't woken up just yet, and he's going to wake up soon in a panic, and he'll be here real quick. So yeah, Tom is expected to join over the course of this broadcast. And I also see that Mags is here saying, hail Midnight's Edge, Mexican Iron Man, Latinos Land, mods, and chat. Playing catch up, LOL. Oh yeah, awesome. Glad you're catching up. I haven't seen you the last few days. I was wondering where you were. Glad to see you're back again. And then I think we have covered everything there is to say about the Superman series up until this point, with what little information we have to go on. I think we should all hope that it's going to be good, but it has all the hallmarks of being made for everyone and therefore not really appealing to anyone in the end. But that's Superman. There's more. Give me 1 second. I'll put that on screen here for you all to enjoy, if indeed that is the word. Here, because this is also announced today. Matt Reeves J.J. Abrams and Bruce Timm creating new animated Batman series that will be a reimagining of the Batman mythology. Now, I trust that both of you are fans of Batman the Animated Series, and here, of course, there is a familiar name, Bruce Timm, and that name comes long after Matt Reeves, the director of Robert Pattinson's Batman, and J.J. Abrams, destroyer of soon-to-be Superman and already Star Wars, Star Trek, and more. So, seeing this concept art, I guess it is what we're looking at here. Again, kudos to John F. Trent at Bounding Into Comics for doing the write-up on this. But just seeing this, before we get into the story itself, just seeing the names attached and this artwork, how excited are you for this, gentlemen?
I mean, the way you asked the question, I don't think excited is the right word, Andre. I'm excited to rip it apart.
I like to ask leading questions sometimes.
Boy, is this what Midnight's Edge is like? Oof. Oh. Okay. Paulie, you got any more, or you want me to go?
I defer to you, sir.
Paulie's over there like just, he's throwing it. Okay, he's probably printed this out on his printer and he's throwing darts at that picture. Is this the Hollywood Reporter one, or is this the Vanity? Which one is this that you're looking at? Or is this the comic?
What I'm looking at right now is
the Bounding into Comics one?
Comics. That's
okay.
there right
let me do this. So
put it as well. If you want, I can find.
Oh no, I've got it up. I just want to read two sentences from the Hollywood Reporter at 6:45 a.m. this morning in California.
Sure. Go for it.
It says, and it has the same picture. It just has a different intro. It says, the powerhouse director. We'll try to do this without throwing up. The powerhouse directors, along with DC Animated Universe veteran Bruce Timm, have received a straight-to-series order for Batman, the Caped Crusader from HBO Max and Cartoon Network. The series is billed as a, quote, reimagining of the Batman mythology, end quote. Let that sink in for a minute, folks. For those of you playing at home, let that one sink in. Next sentence, and then I'll stop. We are beyond. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me read you the header. This is in the Hollywood Reporter.
Do the Hollywood Reporter one, and
it says
all
Batman,
of the significant bits of it, all of it.
Okay,
so we have the context, what is known.
Okay,
so go through it.
Okay, it says Batman animated series from J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves coming to HBO Max. That is the headline. And then it says the powerhouse directors joined DC Animated Universe veteran Bruce Timm for a reimagining of Caped Crusader that returns to the character's noir roots. Noir. N-O-I-R. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I do know what the word
means dark.
Noir. Yeah, I know. So we are beyond excited to be, but the funny thing is that his original roots in the 50s weren't so dark, but that's another story. We are beyond excited to be working together to bring this character back to tell engrossing new stories in Gotham City, says Abrams from Star Wars The Force Awakens, and Reeves in a statement. The series will be thrilling, cinematic, and evocative of Batman's noir roots, while diving deeper into the psychology of these iconic characters. We cannot wait to share this new world. Now, here's the final quote of the day. For Abrams and Reeves, this project represents a reunion after they previously worked together on Felicity. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a natural gap from Felicity to Batman. That's completely natural.
I just want to know. So I think what happened here, people, from an artistic standpoint, the picture Andre has up, what we have here is an innovative fusing of Batman with his dark noir roots. It looks like they only had two pencils. Maybe the budget's so bad they only have black pencils and purple and dark blue. Anyway, and Bugs Bunny, because if you look at those ears, they're very Bugs Bunny ears. Boom, bam. No,
actually, that's kind of how he looked in the very first incarnations of the comics, isn't it?
Yeah,
the ones where he kind of sucked.
Right. Yeah, but we abandoned that look years ago.
Yeah, for a reason, I might add.
Yeah, there are a lot of good reasons why we embarked with it. And those of us who are comics fans, I mean, when you have the ears up that high, it's something for someone to grab onto. Do they break off? I mean, there's all kinds of old blogs and editorials about that. There's a reason why the ears went away in significant measure over the years, that are fan-driven reasons. But I don't know. I mean, do we have a great guy who's hopefully involved in the creative space? Yeah, but who is he managed by? Abrams? Anyone name me one property that ended well that this moron managed. I mean, to this day, I can't watch all Steven Spielberg movies have been ruined for me just because I found out that J.J. Abrams was the babysitter. Basically Spielberg brought J.J. Abrams into my world and ruined all my characters. So I don't know. This one I'm gonna give a chance to. I'm gonna watch every episode. I'm gonna watch the whole season. I'm gonna be patient, and I'm gonna try to grin and bear it, and let's see what happens. And I'll be back with more thoughts later, I guess. But am I excited? No, but I kind of have a feeling like I'll take what I can get for now.
Polly, how about you?
No. I mean, why are we reimagining the Batman mythology? Why are we reimagining? What is there to reimagine? Like telling the story upside. I guess it's telling the story from an upside down point of view. Okay, telling the story from two idiots that don't respect or understand anything. Again, anything that has to do with the legend. There you go. That's what I got right now.
As for me, honestly, I'm far less critical of this one than I am of Superman. The Superman series that gave me, and again, I could be wrong, that too could be amazing, but just looking at it, reading the description, that gave me Star Trek Lower Decks associations. This thing right here doesn't, not to the same extent. So there's two things. One, regardless of how this one turns out, how many different Batman animated series are there already? Like in total, the different ones in different continuities. Like how many are we talking about?
Including Justice League, good God, a half dozen. And by the way, let me agree with you. I don't mean my reaction to be the same as it was with Superman. It's not the same, because one of the things that you reported on in one of the shows is that, or someone did that was on your show, is about the whole nature that J.J. Abrams wants to be a producer of things where he's got an equity stake or some points in it. He doesn't want to really do anything hands-on. So I'm hoping and praying that because we've got a right guy from a proven track record from the 90s, then we're going to be okay. We're not going to be great, but we're going to be hopefully okay. And it really is about who's doing the reimagining here. Because if it's the case where they're in a big room and they're doing the reimagining, and our man here, Bruce, is going to really be the one who carries the stick here, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Will we be great? I don't know yet. But the other one I'm giving a D- on arrival. Superman one, a D- on arrival. This one we're at least starting now, and we're going to be focused on the numbers. The other ones have been produced and is getting the least. So we know that's woke and broke and going to be crappy. This one here, I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic. The other one, I'm fatalistically not interested. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely sympathize with that viewpoint, because the way that I see it is that there's I don't even know how many different Batman the animated series there are. Like half a dozen, something like that, a crap ton, many different versions for many different audiences. So regardless, this is just one more where there are many already. So I feel in that sense the stakes are lower, whereas there hasn't been an animated Superman series since the 90s, to my awareness at least. So the stakes on that are higher. Whereas on this one, there's like a new Batman animated series every year, I kind of feel, and I've missed all of them because there's already one definitive Batman animated series, and it's Batman the Animated Series. Now, this is a reimagining, and the names that are brought forward here are Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, and Bruce Timm. Now, Matt Reeves, of course, he's actually a J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot acolyte, so the two of them will know each other quite well. He directed some Planet of the Apes movies that people gush about. Personally, I never liked them myself, so he is actually the one that I worry about a lot about the upcoming Batman movie. Like everyone, I have been like asking me, like, didn't you see those Planet of the Apes movies? How can you be worried about him? Well, I did see them. I hated them. So yeah, I am worried about what he's going to do with the Batman movie, regardless of cast. So there's that. And then there's J.J. Abrams, a man who, to our audience, needs no further introduction. But I don't think that the two of them are going to be major creative powerhouses here. I think that the two of them, they will provide some notes for the pilot and approve some designs and thereby set their stamp on the series. But after they have set their stamp on the series, it's Bruce Timm that's going to continue the joint vision created. And now, granted, it's been quite a few decades since Bruce Timm did the animated Batman series. Do I think that we are automatically in good hands because he did that decades ago? Honestly, no. I don't think that if he were to do a continuation to it today, that it would be any good. However, he does understand the character. So if he's given a reimagined version and told, here, do your best with it, or do whatever you do in this general vein, I actually think that has a fairly good chance of being an okay series. It's not going to beat the proper animated, but yeah.
So essentially, Andre, then okay, I hear you, and I think I'm more with you now. I see it. It's sort of more of a Favreauan type of approach, if you will.
Yeah, maybe that's kind of what I'm thinking. Again, I don't know.
He might be there, but hey, okay, I get you. Yeah, I get you. I get you. All right, I get you. I agree.
Yeah. So you have to. You don't have to agree with me. Feel free to have your.
No. You took me from cautious optimism to less cautious hope. How's that?
Yeah. No, that sounds fun. I think that this one actually has a fairly decent chance of being okay. I'm curious about that reimagining, though, exactly what that's going to entail, because just looking at that image, it looks like they're going way back to the very beginning, back in, was it 1939 when Batman first appeared? I think it was. Because in his original incarnation from Bob Kane, that was completely unreleasable. It was Bill Finger that changed Bob Kane's hokey, idiotic concept into something releasable. And then it still took more work and effort to turn him into the Batman we know and love today.
Yeah, he was a man bat back then.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, he was a man bat.
More or less. And like those like stupid ear things on the costume is like from that era. But points for trying. I mean, maybe it'll work out. We'll see. We'll see how that's going to work out as time goes.
We'll be back, folks, with more late breaking news later this season.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. No time. We'll get back nonstop basically.
Hey, Andre, I have a quick funny. One of your subscribers, Dash Stacy, says, "Did I get locked in the bank vault because there's a little echo?" Listen, everyone, I just moved into my new house. I didn't know I was going to be on this morning, and I'm in a kitchen with my laptop. I got granite countertops and stone floors. It's awful, the echo here. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it can't be helped. Anyway, we're glad you're here with us. Echo or no echo. So we're just gonna have to struggle through it. Not much else that can be done when you are in not a bank vault, but something that just as well might have been. And Dash D's also says for 10 Canadian dollars, one word about new Batman. Why? He's a ninja. He's with turtles. He fights Jack the Ripper. In the end, he's a broken man in a suit and does what's right. Just leave him alone. Just make a new character, for fuck's sake. And yeah, there's a point to that. But again, since there are so many different Batman iterations already, including in animation, to me at least, the stakes are much lower on this one for that very reason. And then moving on a little bit now, let's see, is there any more I can get up on screen? No, there isn't. Oh, there is, because one just came. Let's see. Chris Hill says, you don't ever let Bruce Timm reimagine anything. The Killing Joke animated movie was reimagined by him for Batgirl to be Batman's buddy. Was that him? Was that Bruce Timm? Okay, well then we're in worse shape than I thought. Because that was awful. That was such a waste of opportunity. Did you see that? The Killing Joke, anyone?
Yeah, I did. I did. And what I'm going to say is that I'm a little forgiving. I'm just going to be forgiving and say, hey, you got to look at the body of someone's work, not just maybe their one. Ridley Scott, for example, didn't exactly hit a home run with every Alien movie, if you know what I mean. But Gladiator was awesome, so that's kind of my view.
Yeah, no, Ridley Scott, he hits a home run whenever he has a perfect script that there's no way whatsoever to destroy. Then he does really, really good. And then let's see what more you have to say in the super chats. Let's see here. Michael Miller says 25% different Batman is not Batman. It's actually a very apt point, because with J.J. Abrams, you do tend to get 25% different iterations of the characters, don't you? And then Super Nate says, I bet you that writer who was fired from Superman and Lois is involved with this. And yeah, Super Nate, I see why you would say that, but from what we've heard from actually several people we know, that woman, she ain't getting hired again anywhere, because she bad-mouthed her boss and former employer, and didn't work out too well, because word spread and no one wanted to work with her again. So that's what happened with her. I've forgotten her name, but we've had a number of people in the industry come on to say that. So I don't think that she wrote this, but you can have plenty others like her. And then RamBam3000 sent us £5 saying, Andre, here's some bucks in credit for that Allo Allo reference. Yes, thanks for that, for recognizing it. And if you haven't seen it, Allo Allo is one of the greatest series ever made of all time. And check it out, you won't regret it. Freakadelic says for $10, thank you so much. For folk not used to Darkseid, are there stories making him more than just seemingly evil incarnate mustache twirler? What could make him want to do an on-the-nose name and turn every place into Hell World? Paulie and Mike, you guys are probably more familiar with these stories than I am. I can point you to Marvel stories where Thanos is humanized. We learn more about him. But are there any DC stories that you could point out where we actually learn more about Darkseid, who he is, beyond a mustache-twirling M. Bison hellbent on conquering the world?
Other stories. What I'm going to tell you is you got to go to the comics and, I don't know, just buy them, I guess, and read them. The reason that whole, as Darkseid, this is me personally, that's where you go, to answer your question, that's where you're going to go for the knowledge. Now, where you go from there is up to you, because that was the beginning for me of the end of my enjoyment of the DC universe, because once things started getting very intergalactic and, very otherworldly kind of stuff. A lot of the mission and purpose of why I fell in love with all of the Justice League characters really evaporated. It then became more about being fantastical. And I'll just throw you an analogy. This is going to be criminal, what probably you guys are going to think, but I don't get into Lord of the Rings because it's too fantastical. I'm not into fantasy. I'm into sci-fi. I'm a sci-fi guy. I'm not into fantasy. Did I see the movies? Yes. Do I think they're perfect movies? Pretty much. Did I enjoy them more than I'd rather? I'd frankly rather go watch 1978 Superman again. That's just me, in the comics universe. When you get in, so if you really want to get into that, you're going to have to get into all those books that came out and really get into all the multiple universe storylines that happen throughout the DC universe and all of the resets of the multiple infinite universes that happened like in the early 2000s. So I'm going to direct you to like about 2001 to 2007, 8, 9-ish. And then, a lot of stuff's basically been regurgitated the last 8, 9, 10 years. So that's where you're going to go if you want to learn about that stuff. And you can get comics right now or online are so cheap, Andre. You would think that these classic books are expensive, but 24/7 Media, who's one of our good friends, he has his own channel. He covers a lot of comic stuff along with Clobbering Times, Mike Alonso. They're finding books that are so cheap. And for a while, we weren't sure why this was happening. Now we understand why. The COVID put a lot of the comic book stores, the independents that were already running out of business, it just killed them. So there are immense collections out there that are now flooding the marketplace, and you can get a lot of good books for very effective prices. That it's just unbelievable. So you'll be getting stuff that maybe was selling for $10 to $20 maybe a few years ago. Now you can pick it up for like $1 to $2 a pop. I mean, there's really crazy stuff out there. So go for it.
And the beauty is that it's actually the good comics that you get that cheap before the comic book industry went completely haywire.
Yep.
So yeah, go check out, and maybe you'll find some dark side stories like you wondered there. And then moving on, the DCV Titan says, "I'm not put off by the art, but what's being shown." And yeah, to me, that's actually the bigger issue is the kind of in-between lines implication that Lewis could be the one teaching Superman how to be Superman. On that note, Adam Brill says, "That's Lois? I thought it was a guy." And Dash D's, also in reference to that description of Superman, says, "He always knew who he was. When shit hit the fan, Clark's eyes would even burn and look for somewhere to change. He knew where that line was." And HyperGyver 2 says ADV was a defunct anime distributor, an ADR studio. Okay, well, cool. Learn something every day. And Goskar Farlat sent us another $20. Thank you so much. Reimagine. Oh, God, they're going to fuck Batman up, aren't they? Well, depends on exactly what they do, doesn't it? But yeah, with both Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams, who the heck knows? I mean, like, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I will say that with JJ and Star Trek, like, it was a fairly decent starting point. Alas, it kind of like messed up from there. But we have someone else who can speak on this matter in far more detail joining us. Welcome, Clobbering Times.
Oh my God, my brother is here.
Hail.
Hey,
well,
Mikey.
I'm
My
honored to be
brother,
here.
my comics brother is here. Mikey.
Hey, buddy. Everyone hear me all right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, we hear you good and well.
Hey.
You're not echoing
Ollie.
like Mexican Iron Man.
How's it going?
Oh, great. I'm honored to be here, Andre. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Brother, we're honored to have you.
Yeah. So these newly animated or announced animated series of Superman, or actually Lois telling the stories of Superman and their black friends and the reimagined Batman. What are your thoughts?
Well, I came in at the tail end when you guys were talking about Batman, so I didn't get to hear about if this a new story about a Superman series, so I don't know what's going on with that one. I can only imagine, and the dread that I will have once I hear about it, though. But the Batman one I've heard you talking about, and if it's got Jar Jar Abrams and Matt Reeves connected, that's a deal killer for me. 10 years ago, Bruce Timm would have been turning backflips over because he's done so many wonderful things. Batman the Animated Series is probably the greatest interpretation of the Dark Knight Detective version of Batman, and I'm including a lot of comics in that too, probably ever produced.
Yeah, I agree. Like the animated series to me is the definitive version of Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the way he was initially conceived by Bill Finger with a little bit of help from Bob Kane. And the Dark Knight Detective version.
Thank you for phrasing it that way. I mean, I think we should flip it around. Batman was created by Bill Finger. Oh, and Bob Kane.
Yes. Bob Kane came up with the name and even hyphenated it. So, it's all 90 some odd percent. It's Bill Finger. And then, well, you got to throw some Jerry Robinson in there as well.
Yes. There's more people. Actually, it's the least of all Bob Kane has been hogging the credit for like 80 years or so.
Yes, absolutely. And that animated series is pretty much a masterpiece. And Bruce Timm, of course, he did other things, that whole DC animated universe. And then he took over, I think, producing the DC animated films, the ones that were straight to video and stuff. I think Paulie's watched a few of them recently. And he's been watching some of those, and some of them are quite good. And then later,
upon your recommendation,
oh, and you watched a couple of the Justice League ones, right?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying them. But I'm going to take this time, Andre. I do have to bow out. I wasn't planning on being here. I wanted to cover for Tom, if that can be done, which it cannot. I'm sure he'll be here with us soon, but I have to get going, gentlemen.
Yes, of course. And thanks for joining us. And also, everyone, be sure to check out Paulie over at both the Latino Slant and over at Midnight's Edge Espanol. So if you are in the audience and you speak Spanish or you want to learn Spanish and you haven't already gone to subscribe to Midnight's Edge Espanol, maybe do something about that, because we put a new video up there earlier today.
Yes, and hail to everyone in the chat, and to Midnight's Edge, and to Andre and Tom. You guys rock. Enjoy, have fun, Clobberin. I'll be listening. I will be listening.
Oh, cool.
Have fun too, Mike. Bye, Paulie.
All right, Mexican Iron Man. Love you, man. Talk to you later.
Bud. Love you more.
All right, take care. Yes, all right. Clobberin times.
Yes,
carry on. We were talking about this Batman series and the acumen behind it.
Well, I'll tell you, the term reimagining has always bothered me. I think it should be really changed to de-imagining.
On that note, William Santiago actually says for $10. Thank you so much. Reimagination just means that they don't have enough imagination to be original.
Could not agree more. I've said it for a long time, and it really aggravates me when people have to. And it's always been kind of a thing with me, Andre, where no respect for what went before. These characters that exist in the case of Batman, for example, 8 decades, and Superman and people like that. I understand that their original creators, especially the way they were horribly treated, are no longer with us, and these characters passed down to other writers and artists and things like that. Nevertheless, not always, but oftentimes they're taken over by people with no respect for the original creators. They just don't even view these characters as ever them owing anything to these the original creators, and therefore they will just take them, do what they want. They'll laugh at fans who think you should be respectful, and that's something that's always bothered me about comics and probably other IPs. And with a character like Batman, I just think you should definitely have fidelity to a lot of his core, a lot of the core concepts about him. And when you take them too far away, you lose that. Well, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini really had that with the animated series. Now, I just don't think he cares. I think he's just kind of a hack and a sellout for the Bruce Timm anyway. And he's been that way look, someone mentioned that terrible Killing Joke adaptation. They could have just adapted the comic, which the last half of that, if you saw it, was pretty much a straight adaptation of the Alan Moore, Brian Boland comic book, whether you like that book or not. But the first 20 minutes are horrible and unnecessary. And Tim, and other producers allow that sort of thing. He's done a lot of stuff. He's allowed a lot of stuff. When he in his regime, he's not really. I don't think he's in charge anymore of some of those animated films. And this, I don't know. I can't have any faith in it because George Abrams is in charge. So even if Tim wanted to do something good, who knows? Maybe he'll get away with it. Maybe he'll make it good. But they use the term reimagining. So right there, kind of a dead on arrival for me.
Yeah, no, I see that. Like I'm hopeful. We'll see. But if it is no good, I was informed here off screen of the number from a good friend and a good source who says, assuming you count the Adam West animated series as independent of the live action show, there are 4 animated Batman shows, not including Super Friends, and 3 shows within the DC animated universe. Plus, Batwheels is coming. I have no idea what the hell Batwheels is, but I will say that, to me at least, that actually softens the blow a little bit, because even if this is a complete and total disaster, there are so many other Batman series out there already, and like the more there are, like the less each one matters as far as I'm concerned, because you still have the definitive one, the one true animated series.
Yes.
But then there's the matter of the Superman series. And before we move on to the Marvel news, or state of Marvel rather, I want to hear your thoughts on the Superman series, since we have you here. So if you just give me 1 second, I am going to find that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I just have to. Yeah, there. And also in the meantime, we got a super chat from Jesus Davila, who says, for $20, thank you so much. When I was a kid, I didn't have access to comic books growing up without a lot of money. But now, as an adult trying to get comics now, it's unfortunate to see that most of the new stuff isn't good. You know what? I agree with you there, but I will say one thing. The backlog is still amazing. And that's still worth checking out. The comics that you never got to read as a kid, those comics are better today than modern comics. So actually to check those out, and you'll have more enjoyment from them than most modern comics.
Absolutely. If I can add that, Jesus, you need to go and sub to Clobber and Times channel if you're not. Also go to 24/7 Media. Those 2 guys, that's who cover this stuff. And then there's now that you've got money, you can go get and rebuild a collection that is amazing. There is a lot of good stuff out there. Now, I'm not talking about the $1 million collectibles, but there's just, right, Clobber, and there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And all the great stuff is, if you're not someone who wants to go back and just collect all the originals, like 24 is a fantastic collector for that sort of thing. That's what he likes to do. He likes to get the actual, older, stable back, originals. But most of the great stuff has been compiled in trade paperback form, mistakenly called graphic novels, omnibuses, essential collections, epic collections, things like that, as they're calling them, and all the great stuff. And I don't care how long you've been around comics, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 decades, there's something that got by you that you just never got a chance to read, or maybe you heard it was good or whatever. You just go, my friends liked it, I never picked it up. There's something out there for everyone, and there's so much. I do whole shows just recommending old great comics to read, and then I get done after 2.5 hours or whatever and go, wow, I just barely covered a few things. So
personally, I cannot recommend the Conan the Barbarian and Savage Sword of Conan comics from the 70s and 80s by Roy Thomas and Chuck Dixon highly enough. They're better than most comics put out today. So there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Those are such great books, Andre.
Oh, God.
But speaking of things which maybe aren't so good, Clobber and Times, before you came in, we spoke of the new Superman series, or actually rather the new Lois Lane series. Before we move on to Marvel stuff, here, if you look at the screen, you have an image of it. HBO Max announces new animated Superman series with race-swapped Jimmy Olsen. So there is that, and heading down into the description of the series, just so you see what we're talking about. It will follow 20-somethings Clark Kent, the bright and driven Lois Lane, and their best friend Jimmy Olsen as they begin to discover who they are and everything they can accomplish together as an investigative reporting team at the Daily Planet. Specifically, the series will follow Clark as he builds his secret Superman identity and embraces his role as the hero of Metropolis, and perhaps the world, implication being someone has to teach him. Q. As for Lois, she's now growing into a star investigative journalist and takes aspiring photographer Jimmy Olsen under her wing. While all this is happening, Clark and Lois are falling in love, sharing adventures, taking down bad guys, stumbling over secrets, and discovering what it means to be Superman and Lois Lane. And the title of this series, which Warner Media says will be an all-new kids and family animated series, the title of it is going to be My Adventures with Superman.
Hey, a boss, Andre. I got a 2:00 conference call with the client. I'm gonna have to pop off.
No, absolutely.
I am dying to stay on this chat stream with Clobberin for this part.
Good Lord,
Mike, I love you to pieces, brother.
Well,
Andre,
you're
good hands, Clobberin, and you're in good hands, Andre. This is gonna be fun. I'll catch this later after my conference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Take it
All right,
easy,
everybody,
brother.
check out Midnight Sets in Espanol. I'll be in the backstage.
Yes, do that, Mike. Good luck with your meeting. And
Yes,
also,
brother.
before we move on, I want to hear everything you have to say, Clobberin Times. But before then, this is response to a question that we got earlier. The Dead DC says, Andre, for those who were asking in the chat earlier about an iconic Lois Lane story, I recommend Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane. It's about as iconic as a Lois Lane-centric series can get. Okay, cool. Yeah, there you have a recommendation.
Yeah.
And with that, Clobberin Times. Now, when you have seen a little bit, you've heard a little bit about what this series is. I'm going to leave this image right here on screen, I will say right off the bat that, as has been pointed out here before, Lois Lane was always pushy. And Clark Kent was always the timid one, and Jimmy Olsen was always the goofy little sidekick. So those roles are kind of like the same, but they seem, just based on the image and description, to maybe have taken it a tad further.
If this is an example of the art and the animation, wow. That's supposed to be Clark right there, I guess.
Yeah, the guy who looks, as I pointed out before, the guy who looks like Peter Venkman from the animated real Ghostbusters without quite looking like him. Yeah, that's supposed to be Clark Kent, I guess.
Wow. Who wanted this? Who asked for this? Again, I've always had a bit of a problem. I don't know about you, Andre, but with this propensity towards doing shows peripheral to a character, like Gotham, or all these, even like a lot of people really love Smallville. I understand it wasn't my bag because it was, I'm a fan of older Superboy lore and stuff like that, but a lot of people like it, so I respect it. It's fine. But doing, I don't know, trying to come up again, maybe if there was an actual regular, just a straightforward Superman series going on, and you did something sort of as a backup series or something like that for younger viewers, I suppose, maybe. But this is going to be so 2021-ish, so it just does not appeal to me at all. And I'm trying to be kind here. It's
that's exactly what Warner Media CEO Ann Sarnoff promised in that Variety hit piece, which came out just around the release of the Snyder Cut, in which they made it clear they're not continuing the Snyderverse because they don't want to, but the fans won't even miss it because they have so many other cool, diverse, and safe things going on, like this.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that works out for them. Gotham High, anyone? Of course, this looks like another thing like that, except it's an animated series. No one wants this. I don't think this is going to do very well. They're using, in this case, just using the actual name Superman to push something that will have very little to do with Superman. It'll sort of be similar, probably it'll be like a CW cartoon, basically.
You know what? I'm thinking. I'm thinking Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yeah. Yes. Could be. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be satire like that, but I would be surprised if this is produced by Greg Berlanti.
Yeah. And even that's like maybe like too optimistic, because incredibly on his watch, Superman and Lois was allowed to happen, wasn't it? And that's actually doing pretty decent. Now, I'm not fully caught up. I only saw like the first 2-3 episodes, but I have to say those were actually really good.
I kind of liked the first episode a little bit, and then it started to be the familiar pattern. Remember, as you know, there were only 5 so far, so you're not that far behind, and it's resuming soon. Everyone was really excited about that show, and just the fact that there's a halfway decent, enjoyable portrayal of Superman, just a little bit, I think is what kind of a lot of people enthused, because I do like the guy playing him. He's okay.
You know what got people enthused? Seeing the Max Fleischer costume. I think that won a lot of hearts and minds over right there. It certainly did me.
It was, what was it, 2 seconds? And then I'm like, oh my God, again, which begs the question, why not keep the one everyone really likes to see? I can't stand that modern costume, but I like the guy okay. But the show, if you watch it, the Superman bits so far are fairly entertaining. Then you got the Lois stuff, which for me is less entertaining. And then you got the CW Kitty stuff, with the kids, which is going to be more and more. And as this thing goes along, that's going to be the formula for this show. 4 to 5, maybe 6-7 minutes of some cool Superman stuff. A long-running plot thread that's very Berlanti-esque, which will never go anywhere, and all of the other CW type stuff. People are agreeable to the series so far because it hasn't been beat you over the head woke yet, but just wait.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm very glad that you brought that up with the just wait bit, because this series right here is the intention of the regime that may be outgoing. Because what was announced on Monday, or in the very, very late hours of Sunday, depending on exactly where in the world you are, is that AT&T are partially, at least, divesting themselves of Warner Media. This is the other thing I wanted to get into. They're not like selling it off completely, but they are forming a new joint company along with Discovery. And in this new company, which will be co-owned by first and foremost AT&T, but secondarily Discovery. So AT&T are not completely out of it. They still have 70% ownership, but it's going to be managed by Discovery, because this new company will be run by the CEO of Discovery. He is also going to be the new person ultimately in charge of all things DC. And when we were live on Monday, we had Scooper Mikey Sutton on, and his track record when it comes to all things DC is pretty stellar. And while we were live, he got a text. And that he got several texts. He got like 3 different texts, all saying the same thing from 3 different sources, which was that Walter Hamada of DC fame and his enabler, Ansarnov, were both started to send out feelers for other jobs. Now, that's an indication that they know that their days are numbered, which also means that DC rapidly could be heading in another direction again. Exactly which direction? Don't know. But based on recent performances, assuming that the new guy in charge knows how to read numbers, you would think that they would head in something closer to the Snyderverse, because that actually brought in money and views, something the most recent Hamada and Sarnov stuff didn't quite do. So assuming there may be a new management of DC before long, how long do you think that these series that we're seeing right now can actually last?
Well, is this one made for the HBO Max app or
this is all HBO Max.
Okay.
Both of these things are for HBO Max.
My answer would be not long. I don't think they have much of a shelf life for any of this stuff because there's in such flux, and they've got, you got a guy who is pretty much cinematic cancer in Jar Jar Abrams, and everything he touches, and these people you're talking about, they don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing things against the wall to see if they stick at this point. And so, again, I'm not an expert on any of those the backwards interworkings and things like that you were talking about there. My gut feeling on it, though, is this will not have much of an audience at all. And no, and I'll shorten the answer to not very long. I'm sorry if it's a trite answer.
No, but actually, I agree, because what is happening right now is likely a complete change of regime, which is a complete change of strategy. I think that everything that is not already in development is going to be taken up for review and may not proceed. I mean, like, for instance, the Flash movie, that's going to continue because it's already shooting right now. But that was being developed with two potential endings. One in which Ben Affleck's Batman lives, and one in which he dies. I think it's now much more likely that they're going to go with the ending in which he lives.
Mm-hmm.
The future of Robert Pattinson's Batman with Matt Reeves, that's going to depend entirely upon how that movie is received. Of course, it was always going to. But what I've heard is that Warner, they have, or at least people that were there, or AT&T at least, they expected that to perform like Nolan's Dark Knight movies. Anything short of that would be considered a disappointment. So yeah, no pressure. And if it doesn't, then that might be all she wrote for Pattinson's Batman. So I think that the chaos that has been with DC, that's going to continue. And in that chaos, the question to me is, these series here, have they been picked up for one or for 2 seasons? Like, for instance, Star Trek Lower Decks, well, a second season of that is coming soon. But that's not because the first one was a hit. It was because it was ordered to 2 seasons right away. And the second one was already in production by the time the first one was out.
Yep.
So I kind of like wonder if it might be a similar situation here, but I don't know how long it is going to extend beyond that.
I bet it will be fairly short-lived, but it's, again, there's a good point. You mentioned Lower Decks there. They hedge their bets and sign up for multiple seasons with these companies and things like that. It's possible that was done with this show too, and you might get 2 seasons out of it. And that's probably, and I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing because, yes, it's probably going to be one of those things. They're in disarray right now behind the scenes and stuff. And when regimes change, usually shows get canceled, right?
Yeah,
or projects
happens.
get canceled. Yes.
This has been known to happen, let's put it that way.
Yes.
And with that, talking about changes and everything behind the scenes, the thumbnail for today's video is about I was about to say the Inhumans, but at least the Eternals and everything that goes on behind the scenes of Marvel.
Mhm.
And Clobber and I would be honored if you would join me for that.
Certainly. Thank you.
But before that, going to get caught up with the remaining super chats. So going through those, we have Hyper 2 that says, I remember the episode of Lois and Clark where she was called the dumbest woman in history for not knowing Superman was Clark Kent by a time traveler. I don't recall that episode. What I do remember is that I was a huge fan of Lois and Clark when it was on. Actually, I feel like that story. Yeah, like my biggest memory of that actually is that that's the first time I actually bought like episodes of a series. I bought the import of a VHS of that tape, and I remember I was like wondering, will I be able to understand what they're saying since this is import and doesn't have subtitles? I remember like I was like anxious about that as I put the tape on, but it turned out I was fine. But anyway, I remember like the first 2 seasons of that was actually a really cool, and then it kind of became a romance from season 3 onwards, I think. And now I can't rewatch it because it doesn't hold up at all.
Yes.
That's my memories from it at all. But yeah. How about you?
I love Terry Hatcher though. You know,
she's the definitive Lois Lane to me personally.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, again, I really do love her. I think Dane Kane was a pretty good casting. You know, it's funny. I complain about costumes these days. Back then, I complained about that costume. Didn't know how good we had it. I thought it was a little the color was a little weird. We used to jokingly call it Lois and Clark: The Harlequin Adventures of Superman, because its very premise was the 2 of them rather than just a straightforward Superman show, you know, but it was enjoyable enough, I guess. I probably watched it a little bit. I think at the time I was actually married at the time, and my then wife loved it. And because I would sit there and criticize it and make fun of it, I was no longer allowed in the room when she was watching it. So I didn't get to see it as much back then, but I think I'm kind of with you on that. The times I've seen it later, look, it has a lot of people have great nostalgic feelings for it, which was fine, and I have nothing terrible to say about it. But it never really, for me as a Superman super fan, it's not the way I would have wanted the show to be done about the 2 of them, mostly about their relationship. But you know, I'm a 12-year-old when it comes to my superheroes. I want them the way I want them. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Problem is that was clearly written for 12-year-olds. When you rewatch it as an adult, it doesn't really hold up because it's still written for 12-year-olds in the early 90s.
Yes. Yeah. I suppose it was. But again, it was a good cast. You know, it was. You know, what's weird was Lane good. Smith as Perry White. I like the actor. But I was weird at first. I was like, well, it's kind of like a good old boy Perry White. Well, it's different anyway. Great Shades of Elvis instead of saying Great Caesar's Ghost.
He was so good. But and then we also have Fierce Sundown, who says for $2, they should call it Lois Pal, that Superman guy.
That's what's it going to be.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty decent title right there.
Yes.
But with that, let us now move on to the next topic, which is actually Marvel, because we put up a video earlier this week, and the Spanish version of it went up earlier today over on Midnight's Edge Espanol, so do check that out, where we spoke of Marvel's issue in the Chinese market, where both the Eternals and Shang-Chi in all likelihood are going to be banned from being released. Now, the rest of their Phase 4 slate, by all accounts, looks like it's going to be released. So we're still going to have such hitters as Black Widow, that needed to come out 5 years ago, and Marvels with many more Captain Marvels than just Brie Larson, We have Thor, Love and Thunder, and we have Doctor Strange that apparently had to be rewritten to fit in with WandaVision. And we have Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 rounding the whole thing out. That one is probably going to be cool, but the rest, I'm not so sure. Certainly not in the case of Shang-Chi and the Eternals. And those are, apart from Black Widow, the next ones out.
Yep.
And we haven't even seen anything of the Eternals, but we've gotten trailers for Black Widow, which seems fine, apart from it coming 5 years too late. But then there was the Shang-Chi trailer, and the reaction to that has been much more mixed in the West. It wasn't mixed in China. There it was outright negative. But how excited are you for Shang-Chi and the Eternals in particular, and how do you think they will perform, and how could that performance affect Marvel going forward?
Well, as well, there probably is no greater Jack Kirby fanatic on the planet than myself. I love the man, and I love his work.
Yes, I have to. Before we continue, I just have to say my favorite part of Thor Ragnarok, a movie that I thought was fun, was the Jack Kirby visuals.
Yes, my issues with the film aside, that was nice to see. It was some of those, they just flat put them on the in the background on one of the walls on the Grand Master or whatever he was.
Yeah, like in the offices of the Grand Master, but still like just like the outfits and the backgrounds with those typical Jack Kirby patterns. God, it was beautiful.
Oh, it was beautiful. The two greatest geek experiences of my life was meeting and spending time with Jack Kirby, and I just love his work the most.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, it was he was wonderful. He and his wonderful wife Roz, and they say, don't meet your heroes. It's not always the case. It's sometimes they're wonderful. Obviously, when they're not, it's a problem. But I adore his work. In my opinion, he's the greatest creative force of the 20th century. So much of what he did was sorry, I got on Kirby and I can't stop. So I'll sway from that. I'll simply say that who didn't do a head scratch when they heard that they were making an Eternals film anyway? And that's not disrespect to Kirby. It's not one of his greater works. I still love the art in it. It was an okay comic, but I understand they're trying to reach for that lightning in a bottle thing, like as they had with Guardians of the Galaxy. Because when I heard that was going to be a movie, I was also like, And then, it turned out it did well. This one, however, has, I don't know I hate the phrase, but he's spitting in his grave on this one because it's going to be a joke. This is not going to have the Kirby look or feel to it. This is just being done by people. Pretty much you probably never even heard of Jack Kirby before they took on this project.
Probably not. I mean, if the filmmakers or like if the makers of this are anything like the makers of WandaVision that admitted that I've never read the comics, like showrunner even said I'd never heard about Mephisto until I started reading the speculation when the series was on TV.
Yeah, it's just the same deal. This is probably the same deal. I mean, if you look at it, it's certainly, and again, well, actually, you raised the best point. This has been made for, we don't know how long now, a couple of years, right? And we've seen almost nothing, and it's supposedly going to be released in November, right?
Yeah, I think so. And what we have seen, you have like the picture in the thumbnail. Let me see if I can't.
That's from a calendar.
On screen here.
I think it's from a calendar, right?
I honestly have no idea where that picture is from. What I do know is that I saw that picture, and the first time I saw it, I was like thinking, this has to be fan made. Ain't no way this can be real. This can't be real. This has to be a fan made mock-up. No, this is actual concept art.
To my understanding, that is for the cover of a calendar coming up, which I'm sure will just sell like gangbusters. And yes, this we've not seen a frame of it. not a moving frame, not a
No,
commercial.
I think we've seen like a few frames. I think we've seen like 2 seconds or something.
Okay. There you go.
But not enough that we can actually form any kind of valid opinion on it. That we most certainly have not seen.
Yes, because usually you see trailers. Even Shang-Chi, like you said, that trailer finally came out, which was still fairly close to release date. Usually you see trailers of a film that they're really interested in pumping, that they think they have a chance of success a good year sometimes or more before its release. This one, they're sitting on it. And that, if you look at this picture, I guess it can tell you why right there. Icarus is not going to be the main focus. That guy looks about as much like Icarus as I do. It's going to, what was it? I think Circe or something like that is supposed to be the main character. I believe that's again, Eternals, for those who don't know, was basically, after Kirby left DC in the mid 70s, and he'd been doing his Fourth World stuff, his New Gods stuff with Darkseid and Forever People and all those series.
On that note, I have to say thank you to Jason Killar for killing that movie. That was to be written by Tom King and directed by what's her face?
Some woman.
Help me out here.
I forget her name, but it's some woman that. Thank you. Thank you. We're not getting that one. I mean, you're so right. But when Kirby when he went back to Marvel in the mid 70s, I always felt that Eternals was his way of trying to, but not necessarily pick up the pieces from the Fourth World, but to do something similar to that. And it was similar to his New Gods stuff in a lot of ways. And again, it's not as well known, it's not as big, and those characters with the New Gods, have Darkseid and Orion and characters like that.
On the note of New Gods, Read by Nature. Thank you. You got it.
Yes.
Ava DuVernay. That was who was scheduled to direct it. Ava DuVernay and Tom King. So bullet dodged. Thank you, Jason Killar. I'm very sorry to see his career being Jason Killar's, but thank God Jason Killar was able to Killar the New Gods on his way out the door.
Well said, absolutely. So this one looks like it's got Stinkbound written all over it. And I got to tell you, if you told me a few years back that there's going to be a film based on any Jack Kirby property that I wouldn't be excited about, that I wouldn't say, oh yeah, for better or worse, I'm going to go to the theater and see that one. Well, here we are, because I don't even think I'll even bother with this one.
And also as a Jack Kirby fan, again, I cannot claim familiarity with the Eternals myself. I saw that Jesse Miller, kudos, had the first issue, but again, I'm not familiar with them. I know that Neil Gaiman did a version of them as well. I trust that you're probably familiar with that. Like, which version do you think, just based on this art, it's going to be more like?
It'll be very little to do with the Kirby one. Also, somewhere in the 80s, I think there was also a series revival of it for a short time, I believe. And then, as you say, the Neil Gaiman one, I think John Romita Jr. or someone did the art for that, if I remember right. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't really pick it up, but I'm going to just go on a limb and say if it has anything linked to any comic series that has been done of the Eternals, it'll be that one. And again, it may not even resemble that very much.
Probably, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that when we get around to it.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that you speak for many when you say you're not too interested in it. I know for myself, I was thinking to begin with, hey, Jack Kirby's Eternals. Not familiar with the Eternals, but I am generally familiar with Jack Kirby, so excited just for that. Then I saw this image right here, and that, more than anything else, killed it for me. And we know it's not going to get released in China. They haven't released any kind of footage, and in my opinion, it's because they're hiding the movie. I could be wrong, but this is a movie that is supposed to be out this year. And probably they're focusing all their attention on both the Eternals and Shang-Chi at this point, but still, I feel we should have seen more, some stills, something in that like horribly manipulative thing they did with the Stan Lee, with like this. Remember how awesome Marvel used to be? Please don't forget about us. You know that commercial right there. In there, you had a couple of seconds of the Eternals, and none of it was any kind of money shots at all. To me, that just suggests that they're trying to hide it because they know they have a disaster on their hands. I hope to be wrong, but that's kind of my thinking.
You have to be right on this one, because when was the last time Hollywood hid anything they were proud of that they thought was going to do well?
Yeah, that's been quite a while, because with Marvel stuff, we typically we've seen something, and we've seen it long before this stage in the release cycle. Of course, now it's like unusual days right now, but still, it's weird that we wouldn't get anything more official than this picture right here. So let's just say then that that the impression and gut feeling we have holds, that this movie right here, that China wants nothing to do with, it comes out and it doesn't really perform. Then Shang-Chi comes out and it doesn't perform all that well either. The rest of Phase 4 is pretty much already it's not necessarily in the can, but there's not much adjustment that can be done to Phase 4. What do you think is going to happen to Phase 5 if these movies don't deliver? If they only go to show that Marvel has kind of lost what made them special and magic?
Well, I would like to think that well, we're dealing with Disney, but any sane group of folks, if they have someone like, even with Kevin Feige doing this, what he's doing with Phase 4, which in my opinion will be a disaster, certainly financially as well, in particular. Sane people would go back to the drawing board, as they often do, whether it's a sports team or any other logical business, and go, well, look, that didn't work. Let's look at why it didn't work, and let's go back to the drawing board, as I said, and start over. Maybe bring in new people, and again, let's try to determine why it didn't work. That's sanity, though. We're talking about Disney. I think they're known to double down when something doesn't work, to keep doing it and be obstinate and then blame it on everyone else. So I'd like to think, if you're being optimistic, you go, well, when these things fall apart and don't do well, which I don't think they will, reassess the situation. I have no faith in that with Disney.
Yeah. Normally, I would agree with you. But you know what? I think that there's a chance it might be different now. I think there's a big chance that if this movie here and others like it bomb, Marvel will have to make changes. You know why I think that? Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek, he has instituted changes, and I don't think that many enough have fully grasped what the changes that he has done really are. Some people have grasped. I saw John Campia. He put up a video the other day, or actually it was like a segment from his live show, where he talked about how Bob Chapek is going to steer Disney into the ground, or something along those lines. But I kind of disagree with that. You know how Bob Chapek is restructuring Disney? Actually, let's begin with what Bob Iger did. When Bob Iger came into this, he was there already. He had already been there, and he was serving as the number 2 under Michael Eisner. But when Eisner was there, the creatives didn't have full power. They had to answer to pencil pushers. It was the pencil pushers that told them what kind of projects they could do and what they couldn't. They performed some kind of risk assessment or some kind of bullcrap based on some metric that didn't really work, and then they gave a thumbs up or a thumbs down based on that. Whereas Bob Iger, he got rid of that. and he told the creatives to go wild and create. And then they put out what those creatives created. So basically, it was the studio heads, the heads of Pixar, the heads of Marvel, the heads of Lucasfilm, that had all power in deciding exactly what was going to be put out. Iger himself, of course, he could deliver notes, but on the whole, it was the studio heads that called the shots on what was going to be made. And this worked great for Pixar. It worked great for Marvel up until relatively recently. Never really worked out all that great for Lucasfilm, because that was run by Kathleen Kennedy that didn't know what the hell she was doing, but she still had power to do whatever she wanted. It has worked out great for Marvel, but now we're starting to see that the creatives are starting to lose some of that luster that they had before. And you mentioned this thing about doubling down. You know who does that doubling down? It's the creatives. It's the people that said, "What, you didn't like the message I tried to send you, you pleb? Well, you are gonna learn, you pleb, because I'm gonna double down." It's the creatives that do that, and they can easily do that when other people are footing the bill for their activism. What Bob Chapek has done, and this is something that we're really going to hammer in later videos, is that he didn't bring back what Michael Eisner had, but instead he has put a new distribution division ahead of content production. So how that works is that people like Kevin Feige and no longer Kathleen Kennedy, but whoever ends up replacing her, the people at Pixar, they can come up with their plans, but then they have to take them to people in distribution. And the people in distribution, they are the ones that get to give it green light, or send it back to the drawing board, or even decide what kind of budget it gets, and if it goes to Disney Plus, or if it goes to the big screen. There's another control and balance there that wasn't there before now. I don't think we're going to see so much more of the same doubling down, assuming they have sane people in distribution. Like, the problem for Marvel is that you have crazy people doing the content production. It's crazy people that have gotten deranged and become activists. So they need a level of control. Of course, if the level of control, if the people in distribution become crazy too, then you're right back to square one. But as long as you have that check and balance, I think that what's going to happen is that they see that, okay, Shang-Chi, movie that never should have been made, bombed. Yeah. Eternals, likewise. Marvel, you no longer have the same power you do. Now you have to go do everything by us. I think that that's going to be a huge difference from Phase 5 going forward. At least I hope.
Look, I hope you're right about that. And you know what? That's very plausible. Absolutely. I guess a lot of us become, somewhat negative about it because of how long these things are going. But I guess it's a long game also. And eventually, maybe good sense will win out because with Chapek. So, excuse me, you know a lot more about that sort of thing than I do in terms of like the backwards interworkings and things like that because I've listened to you quite often. And I tell you what, it makes me have a little bit more optimism about it, what you just said. So it's possible. Yeah,
well, also glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. That's the message that I wanted to get forward about Marvel and the Eternals. Yeah. I think we're in for a rough patch there. I think that things are going to get better, but right now, I think that maybe, just maybe, time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
But if Chapek can make this new distribution power structure work, that might save both Star Wars from its current path, and it might even get Marvel back on track again. Maybe, fingers crossed. Because right now, they appear to be veering off track really, really badly. I mean, just look at this image.
It's just, I mean, and
I
again, a
see that
talented.
image, and I don't want to see anything more.
No, you see that and you go, well, even if you don't, obviously a lot of people, because how many people do know the comic book? You see that and you go, a Marvel movie? Where's Thor? Where's Cap? Where's Iron Man? You know, they see the people who are just, normies who like those films that don't know the comic books or anything. I don't, how are you going to drag them in there?
Yeah, who are these D-listers?
Yeah, what are these guys? I mean, true.
I mean, because you could say the same thing for Guardians of the Galaxy, but that poster actually drew people in.
Not only that, they put out a very entertaining trailer a year before the film came out.
And that trailer really sold the movie too. I mean,
yeah,
there was no need for the honest trailer guys to do an honest Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, because there already was one. You just play the theatrical trailer. It was like the most honest trailer there ever was.
It was crucial. And look, when I saw that trailer, I was, because I was first when I heard about Guardians, I said, well, you mean with and I was thinking of the original group, which was not. And of course, but I did know, even though I wasn't reading it, the Ian Abnett and the Abnett and Lanning series, where they brought him back with the newer group that you pretty much saw in the film. I knew of it, just never really read that comic very much. But I had some friends who liked it, and so I said, oh, maybe they're going to do that current group that only has really been around since 2008 or something. And I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't really think that would be necessarily a great idea, but I wasn't attached to it in any way emotionally. So I see the trailer and I go, it looks kind of funny. Now, some friends of mine who are fans of that comic, I have a friend or two that doesn't like the way they Gunn translated it to film, but for the most part, it's very popular. And I like the films myself. Very popular. And again, that trailer grabbed you. It grabbed. But it doesn't matter if it grabs the comic book geek, right? It grabbed Joe Public. And they saw that, and that looks kind of funny. It looks interesting.
And to me, there has never been a distinction between the two. I always felt that was where Hollywood went wrong. That they thought that there was a distinction. They thought that these properties were geeky, stupid little things that had to be changed in order to be appealing for wide audiences. And to me, that's where they were wrong. And obviously, that's what Kevin Feige felt as well. He was able to recognize that, no, there's nothing wrong with these things. You only have some people that are interested in comics. All you have to do is make these stories accessible for those that don't read the comics. Essentially, do what you do in the comics, but restructure it for the 2-hour narrative of the big screen. And that's what he did. It worked like gangbusters, because there was nothing wrong with the source material. It only needed to be adapted faithfully.
Yes. Well, and you know that to the larger part of the world now, over the past, I guess, maybe 20 years or what have you, or 15 years, some of these characters, now you and I know, of course, and many know that their origins are in comic books. Since the state of the industry, the way it has continued to deteriorate, these are now a large portion of them are almost as much movie characters as they are comic book characters. Now, not to me, I'm a comics guy, but to many people who would watch these things, if you told, there are some that if you said that's a comic book character from at that point 60, 70, 80 years, they go, oh yeah, okay, whatever. They like the movie. They like the Iron Man movie. That's all they know. And so some of them are just as ensconced in pop culture as movie characters as they are. There are many people who watch these things, as you well know, because they're so popular. So when the MCU was in its heyday, that have never touched a comic book, or maybe not since they were a very young child or whatever. Maybe they saw a cartoon here and there, So
yeah, probably. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
and with that, we have a couple of more super chats that I want to go through. Let's see. Just give me 1 second here to get back on them. Let's see. Here we go. Douglas Nelson says, the only hope for Phase 4 is Doctor Strange. But after Feige's comments about WandaVision, I'm now nervous about Doctor Strange's chances, even with Raimi.
Yes.
Now, yes, for those that might have missed it, can you reiterate exactly what it was that he said?
I believe it was something along the lines of they were going to include Doctor Strange at the end of WandaVision. It was in the plan, I suppose. And then Kevin Feige reasoned, in quotations, because this is unreasonable, that it would be and if you correct me if I'm getting it wrong, a white dude sort of jumping in and solving everything or explaining everything to a woman or something, some kind of idiocy like that. Is that basically what it was? What he said?
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. What he said was that they didn't want to take any attention away from Wanda. And that alone, of course, is bullshit.
Yes.
Because they had no attention, they had no issues taking attention away from the Hulk in the Incredible Hulk by having Iron Man show up. They had no attention or no issue with any of that. It was only the moment when it was WandaVision, then they couldn't let a man take attention from her. And likewise, because Doctor Strange is a white man, he can't come and show her how to do magic. Basically, Feige didn't use these words, but he essentially said that they couldn't have him come and mansplain how to do magic to her. Now, to be clear, though, it seemed like he didn't say, "This is not what I want to do." It could be that what he meant was that Twitterati would crucify us if we did that. I think that was his real meaning. But then he still gave into it, and he compromised WandaVision because everyone was waiting for Doctor Strange to show up. Everyone was waiting for that Luke Skywalker moment. And granted, Doctor Strange wouldn't have been a great Skywalker moment, but he would have been a hell of a lot better Luke Skywalker moment than Pale Vision, which is what we got.
Absolutely, and Douglas has every reason to be afraid, because I too would go, Sam Raimi, pretty good fit for a Doctor Strange film, but he's as with Spider-Man 3, there's a studio over his head probably that will probably stifle his full creative freedom on this one, if I'm seeing my current MCU correctly.
Yeah. And in reference to the picture now on screen, HyperGyver 2 says, "I thought this was a sequel to Thunder Force." Yeah, you could be forgiven for thinking that. And Kit Kat says, "When these movies bomb in China due to the good taste of the Chinese, will the Twitterati and the media say the Chinese are racist?" What do you think about that? Do you think that they would be so honest?
No, Twitterati will not. They will find someone else to blame, but they would never go after the Chinese.
No, because if they were going to do that, they would do so already. I mean, look at just look at Chinese movie posters, like for instance of Black Panther, and you have like the one where you zoom in on Chadwick Boseman's face.
Yep.
They have that poster in China too. Only there he wears the mask. Do you know? Hide the blackness of his skin because this offends Chinese sensibilities. Obviously, not every single Chinese, but enough that they deliberately hide John Boyega from posters and stuff like that. But no, I think it's going to be exactly like when this is my favorite example. When Charlie's Angels, the remake from last year, from 2 years ago, when that bombed spectacularly. It bombed so bad because no one went to see it. Men didn't see it, but neither did women. And as I like to point out, more women went to see Rambo: Last Blood in its opening weekend a few weeks earlier than went to see Charlie's Angels in its opening weekend. Think about that. Women preferred Rambo over Charlie's Angels. But
Imagine
even
that.
so, the narrative was all about the horrible, toxic men who didn't go see it. I think we're going to have the same thing here for when those movies bomb. They're going to find a way to turn it on someone else. Just you wait and see. It's going to be problematic white males who don't want diverse movies or something like that. That's going to be the narrative. They're already trying to set it up, I think.
Absolutely. Somehow white males will have gone into the theaters over there and stopped people from watching it. So,
yeah, exactly. Something like that. It's going to be it. You wait and see. And then we have Gypsy Warrior says Richard Madden is a good actor, but he'll be cucked. I take it that Richard Madden must be someone who's in here. Maybe we're looking at him right now. Can't say
probably Icarus.
Yeah, maybe. But in any event, it's hard to disagree with that. Honestly, the Marvel movie I'm the most excited for right now is Venom and Carnage. That's me.
Yeah.
And Nova Zero says that's why comics are failing. The movies aren't bad if you get curious and reading comics in the past 10 years. Oof. Manga is better. You're welcome. Yeah, and manga is certainly killing it in sales, which is probably why that doofus went out like a few days ago and demanded that the creators of manga be taken to task for being horrible misogynists.
Jerry Conway?
Yeah, Conway, indeed.
He's been lunatic for quite some time.
Yeah, he has. Like, he even did like this BLM skull for the Punisher, didn't he?
Yes. He was all annoyed that people were using that. Yeah, and he was complaining about it. The co-creator of the Punisher, who basically he ripped off from an older character called Mac Bolan, the Executioner. It was complaining, that it was being used now. He doesn't think they should use it anymore or some such.
And I don't think that he should, that he's in a position to talk in any kind of authority about the Punisher in any event. Because it's true, he co-created the first iteration of the character. But the character that he created was a throwaway villain. He didn't give him his personality, mission, drive, or anything else. That was all done by later writers.
Yep,
I mean,
that is correct.
Conway, he co-created. He created the Punisher in the same way that Bob Kane created Batman.
Yes, he didn't have a whole hell of a lot to do with it. Like you say, he used originally he used rubber bullets. Well, comics code, that sort of thing, and he would pop up in. Other than that Marvel Super Special where I think he first appeared, he popped up in Spider-Man, and actually when Frank Miller put him in Daredevil, he really started adding the harder edge to the plot. You could almost credit Miller with, although there were many other writers after that, when he started using
that's
him in
that's the moment when the Punisher really took off. That was when Frank Miller used him.
In Daredevil, yep, absolutely. And a story, by the way, that the comics code was denied for it, and they later had to change it up a little bit.
Yeah. And then Thomas R. Hart also points out that Mike Barron truly created the Punisher with Mike Zack.
That's a good point.
Before that, the character was just made. This is very true. It was Mike Barron that truly made the Punisher come alive. I mean, his run doesn't get enough credit, and I think it's regrettable that there are not more paperbacks collecting it. You'll find parts of the run in like these huge collected editions that you get, like both the paper and epic collections or whatever they're called. But still, like there's no complete Mike Barron collection, and that is the shame, because the blueprint of everything the Punisher would be later was done by Mike Barron. Of course, he built upon other writers, but he was the one that really made the Punisher tick. And then, of course, Garth Ennis, who redefined him for modern audiences in what I personally think is the definitive iteration of the character. And none of them have anything to do with Jerry Conway.
No, not at all. Jerry Conway was in my in my opinion, he was always a hack writer. And I mean, I know he went to TV later. To be honest with you, and I've read many of his comics in the Bronze Age, and never thought he was a very good writer at all. I don't like any of his runs on Justice League or any of the other series he's done. I mean, I did love, Firestorm, but actually that got better when he left it alone. But so not a big one.
So yeah, Joel Rice says, "Oh, now I'm relieved. I was worried one of my favorite characters was created by that soy boy." Yeah, well, he did do the co-creation, but again, the character, the Punisher that you know and love today, was not created by Conway. This is for certain.
Go Miller, go Barron, and you can put Ennis in there, like you said. So yes.
Yeah. And also Chuck Dixon. Chuck Dixon also did really good with Punisher Warzone.
True, that's right. He did.
Yeah.
If you're a Punisher fan, those are the guys you got to look to. Did you ever read Garth Ennis's Punisher Destroys the Marvel Universe? Though.
Yeah, I have. That was like his first thing. It got better from there. Though I'm not a huge fan of it, but
it's one of this. It's funny. It's hilarious. It's one of the most ridiculous comics I've ever read. And I mean that in a good way, incidentally, because it's funny. I think he just did it as a goof, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a good way to show how much he disliked costumed superheroes.
He showed
I have to say, I was like a big fan of how he got rid of both the Hulk and Doctor Doom in particular. That was pretty sweet.
It was pretty dumb how he got rid of some of them, though. It was like, in fact, even I thought it was hilarious. If you know that big montage of 2-page spread, just shows all the faces of characters he killed. You're going, okay, how did he kill? Phil? The Lady of Wolverine was pretty silly. The whole thing I thought was him just goofing off. But it was funny though. You got to read it. It's Scream. You got to read that if you haven't, folks.
Yeah, absolutely do that. And Dash D's on the topic of the Punisher says, "The Punisher was the first hero for me that showed me no matter how bad my life got, if I just don't give up and do what's right, I can succeed." Yes, very true. And also, to me, what's really important is that the Punisher, by way of Garth Ennis, also showed up, or also show the lesson that at some point, if something isn't working, you have to flip the script and try something else, or give up and to go another direction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said 2 powerful words. Just go. They stuck with me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, indeed. Nuno dos Santos also says, yes, the Punisher Warzone movie is unjustly underrated. That's the single truest Punisher movie to the source material there is. It's Punisher Warzone. That is the truest one. That's the one movie to get his origin right.
Yeah.
It really is. And with that, let's get into some of the more classic super chats that I can't get up on screen, but we have a couple ones that I didn't go through earlier, so we're going to do that now. Let's see here. Kit Kat says, "Sweet dreams, Tom. Wish you were here." Yeah, I wish that too, but again, he finished that new video up on Midnight's Edge Espanol just like 3 hours ago, so that he would wake up after 2 hours of sleep or 1 hour of sleep might be optimistic. So I'm sure he's going to be back again on Friday. And Dash D's wonders, live action Captain Planet. Is that something that you would like to see?
I was never a big Captain Planet fan, so I don't know about you, but it wouldn't do much for me. But if they're fans of that, I wish you the best if they do it right. How about that?
Yeah. If they were to make that, I would be annoyed because there are 1,000 other things that they need to make first.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that Captain Planet is probably best left in the 80s where he belongs. Let's see which else we have here. Bell Snickle says, "I am looking at my dad's little book, Maximo the Amazing Spider-Man from the 1930s. Ever hear of it? You familiar with Maximo the Amazing Spider-Man?"
Maximo isn't That's not a comic, though.
No, it's from the 1930s. So
isn't it a pulp?
Doubt it. I have to look this up. Maximo, the Amazing Superman. Did I say Spider-Man? I meant the Maximo, the Amazing Superman from 1941. I have never heard of that.
It's not ringing a bell.
It's a thing, but I have never heard of it.
Yeah. It's not ringing a bell, but that doesn't mean anything with my memory. But is he said it was a book, or did he say it was a comic?
Well, it's a book.
Oh, it's a book.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not. I can't say I'm familiar with that then.
Yeah.
Maybe a poem.
Yeah. No, I can't say I'm familiar. I can't say I'm familiar with it. And then we have One Night Tonight says, I'd rather have a time skip League of Assassins cartoon. League of Assassins cartoon. Is this something you're I can't say I'm familiar with that. Maybe you are.
Maybe he's talking about Ra's al Ghul's League of Assassins. I could say.
Let's see. I'd rather have a time skip League of Assassins cartoon.
Well, there you go. I think League of obviously Ra's al Ghul has the League of Assassins, and I do believe I didn't watch Arrow much. I don't know if you did, but they did deal with them quite a bit on that show.
One episode.
Oh, I got you. I didn't watch it either, but I do believe they dealt with League of Assassins a bit on that show. So it could be something. You could be a fan of that show, referring to something like that, maybe an offshoot of that. But I'm just speculating, swinging.
Yeah. And then we have a very special guest in the chat. Mr. H Reviews is here, and he has just seen Army of the Dead. And here his review. Army of the Dead wasn't great. 5 or 6 out of 10. So yeah, if anyone were looking forward to that, very sorry for you. It evidently wasn't anything to look forward to. Stick with Day of the Dead, I guess.
Yeah, I heard RMB wasn't all that enamored with it either.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's disappointing for all fans of zombie films, I'm sure. I am not among them, so I couldn't care less either way. But
same here.
But that's me. And then moving on, Godzillionaire says, in reference to the Batman or animated series that we covered earlier, this will be Batman, stunning and brave.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's oh boy.
Indeed. Very well could be. Yeah. And Classic Comics says, get ready for non-binary trans BLM Batman with a cast of race and gender flipped characters. Well, that's kind of what Ann Sarnoff promised, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, get ready. You're right.
Yeah. And Gypsy Warrior also says that description and artwork seems good to me. If you like it, perfect. Glad to hear it. Let's fingers crossed that both the Superman animated series and the Batman animated series turns out pretty good. Nothing would be better than that.
Batman the Brave and the Woke, somebody wrote in the chat.
Yeah.
I love him. How dare you besmirch the great name of the great cartoon Batman the Brave and the Bold. I love that show.
Which I never saw. But with that, we are actually fully caught up on the super chats. We have gone through both the Batman and Superman newly announced upcoming animated series, and we have talked about how Marvel is probably going to get worse before it gets better.
Yes.
But there may be hope. And Dash D's clarifies, sorry, meant Eternals picture. Looks like Captain Planet. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Good point.
And, honestly, to me, that picture is even problematic. It looks like a white savior in the middle of the diverse cast behind it, which goes to emphasize the issues that they no doubt will be facing. All right. With that, I also want to say to anyone out there that were excited or nervous about hearing that Mr. H did not like the Is it Army of the Dead? I forgot the
Yes.
title. Yeah, Army of the Dead. Then head on over to his channel. Head on over to Mr. H Reviews. I am sure that he's going to have a review up real soon, if it's not up already. Also, check out his secondary car channel. He's going to find, you can find that linked to on his main channel. So everyone, go and check that out. Clobber in Times, thanks for joining us today. Where can people find you?
Well, sir, first I say it's an honor to be here, Andre. Thank you so much. Again, you can find me at Clobber in Times. I had to change. I was on BTR for 11 years and 700 episodes. Blog Talk Radio, for those who don't know about it, it's an antiquated platform. And so when I moved over here, I had to change it to Clobber in Times because there's another, it's tough to get your own domain name. But I'm over there, and of course, I'm on a lot. Tonight I'll be on doing Open Geek Talk at 8 p.m. Central, and tomorrow the Global Geek Gang assembles. Oh, thank you for that. 1 p.m. Central, where we get a bunch of geeks together, which you've been there, and we appreciated you stopping by when you did.
Yeah, it was fun talking some Red Sonja with you.
Oh, absolutely. We hope you'll stop by again one day. And Saturday nights, I'm the wonderful Raquel Briggs and I are reviewing all of Star Trek 66 through 05, only the real deal. And we just finished up with the original series this past Saturday night. We're having a blast on that show. Having so much fun with the chat. And this week we start the animated series because we're going to do it all in order. And so it's 9 p.m. Central on Saturday nights.
Very, very cool. And then also, I would like to say thank you to our audience that have been here all day. It's been awesome to have so many of you here. Be sure to be back again on Friday. Then Tom should have slept out, so he will be back. And then we'll also be joined by filmmaker Tom Conkle, good friend of ours that we can't wait to have on again. And right now, I do believe it is time for some koalas in the rain.
I love it.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.